is dead, this is almost even worse for him. I mean, he looks like even.
I don't know what's worse, faking someone's death or doing this if they actually died.
I think doing this if they actually died is worse.
I mean, faking that someone died is pretty bad.
I think what he's gonna do is be like, "Oh my God, she's back," you know.
Yeah. This is all. He's gonna resurrect her.
Yeah, he's
with
gonna
some sort of like necromantic.
I think she.
Ceremony.
So is his channel becoming like superpower? I don't understand. What is this?
We were digging into it yesterday.
Because it went from like fake ghost.
Yeah, it's supernatural. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, well, we were watching some of his content yesterday, just dying laughing, and yeah, I mean he's got all kinds of crazy stuff. He's doing like genetic experiments. He's doing he's talking to the dead. He's wilding out.
I think what happened is she probably went on a short trip or vacation somewhere.
She's dead.
So he did a she's dead, and then he's gonna resurrect her. But people buy it anyway. Here's the video. It's 4 minutes and a half. Look at the acting. So
yeah.
What's up, guys?
There's no way.
Love the sarcophagus.
I never
Maybe
wanted
she's
to
in
make
there.
a video like this ever. But last night,
Didn't he have another girlfriend that died? Apparently.
Yes.
So if I'm the FBI and all of a sudden these guys' girlfriends keep disappearing, if this really happened, I have this guy in custody as the FBI.
So this has like a legit amount of views and like ratio.
Yeah, the vast majority are likes.
Wow.
It was actually much better yesterday when we were looking at it. I think because it's getting attention.
Been
Talking about the guy who's
Yeah, it's getting dislike bombed. But when we came across it yesterday, it was all upvotes.
The top comment is try to connect with her with a Ouija board for one last I love you. Rest in peace, Alexia. We will miss you. He wrote and pinned and favorited.
The favorite.
Go. I like this one.
last night we lost Alexia.
What if she did die?
Last
Should
night.
I feel bad?
Not even 24 hours.
It was like 6 hours prior.
What is he wiping? His forehead?
Yeah, his forehead. His eyebrows. His eyebrows start tearing up.
For our video we're making on our second channel, Dream
That's
Team.
not where the tears come out.
Wait.
Why is he wiping his eyebrows?
She's gone. She's gone.
So if she's dead, actually.
Sorry for crying. No, I know you
Sorry
guys are
for
gonna make
crying.
fun of me for crying.
Yeah, we're gonna make fun of you for
He keeps
crying.
wiping
So-
his eyebrows.
Do you not know where you cry from?
What is that?
So let me ask you, if his
Ethan,
girlfriend actually died.
Sorry for crying.
Yeah, that's your ear.
Last
Dude.
night around 11 p.m.
You don't
I
cry
got a
from your
call
ear.
From her
Sorry.
parents telling me what happened. As
Wait.
you guys probably know,
Wait,
we
I
had
thought
a
he-
channel together.
I thought he said that they were filming together. Nah, whatever.
Team, we just hit 300,000 subscribers.
Oh, Alton.
We had about 5 videos that we had filmed. We were ready to post on that channel.
Why are you just promoting your second channel, bro?
Oh, you know, I think he was explaining because I saw someone say that he still posted a video
Dream
with
was
her.
just to get 1 million
Oh, the same
subscribers,
day.
and we were
So-
That's awesome.
This is his
close to doing
explanation.
that, guys.
We were so, wait, he's just
This is here's where it all.
he's
goes.
just
Yeah.
driving subs.
Yeah.
It was our only way to get 300,000. What a fucking
I
scumbag.
should post the remainder videos.
Oh,
That was her last wish.
On that channel.
It was for 1 million subs.
he's barely talking about
It was
her.
a dream to get 1 million subscribers, so
Let's see how many subs
out
they
of
got
respect
now.
for her, because I know that's what she would want, I'm gonna post those videos there. But after those videos,
This guy is such a fuck.
there's no more.
Wipe your eyebrows.
This guy would fucking murder his own grandma if it got him more subscribers.
After those videos, there's
Who records into the sun?
Alexia.
Like that's so amateur, bro. Cause the light keeps changing.
I know she's in
Look
a
how it
better
gets all
place
dark.
right now, guys.
He
I
just wants
had
to
tell
show
you
off
guys what
the
happened.
view.
I'm probably not gonna be able to upload on this channel for a while. I hope you guys can understand. Like she meant everything. to me.
Anywhere's
She's
not
been
white,
working with me
shiny.
For the last 4 months, guys. Like she's been my world for the last 4 months.
Anyway,
That
go
doesn't
subscribe.
sound that long.
Just gone, just like that.
4 months?
Everything was
Yeah,
going
she's
so,
been my word for the last 4 months.
so good with us. I never met a girl like her.
If she actually did die, he murdered her. I'm sure of it.
To
She's
think,
not dead.
She's not dead though, yeah. He'll bring her back in a week.
Anyways, I'll probably post those videos on that channel. Link's gonna be in the description, guys.
God.
Just go to the
We
description.
recorded 5 of them. We're ready to go.
Anyways,
Anyways, don't forget
Anyway,
to
look
like.
hit the like, subscribe.
Subscribe. Yeah, look, he links to everything.
Also the button. Don't forget the
You
button.
missed my
Follow me on
thousands of
Twitter.
people.
He's got that merch in there too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one tier.
So this is the video he posted. Actually, it has an incredible like, dislike.
You mean a lot of likes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the video that he posted the same day.
Yeah.
He didn't get that many subs. All that. He wanted 1 million, but it's only at 323. Because he said that they were... Wait, he already posted another one 7 hours ago.
He said they have 5
He's
videos
fulfilling
ready to
her
go.
last wish.
This is her last
Oh
wish.
my
To
god.
get 1 million subs,
Dude,
dude.
you gotta be kidding me.
Hit that sub button. This is my account. I wanna
Let's
subscribe.
see what the comments are on this. I love this. This was her dream from the grave. I love you guys. Thanks for all the support. So he said they were just under 300,000, right? Or,
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
because they're only at 323.
Damn.
Gosh, she's annoying.
You think?
Look at this intro, Hila. I mean, what girl could
I mean,
be with...
who would be with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What up, invaders?
So, there's more to this. There's ads on that video, by the way, we forgot to mention. I took screenshots just because I couldn't believe it, but there's like hella ads on that video. My girlfriend died. Rest in paradise. Brought to you by Monday.com. Make more time for actual work, Monday.com. I love YouTube, man. They're the best. Fuck me, right? I'm a problem. I'm a problem. Mm-hmm. Fucking unbelievable. Video of him going to the site where she died also has ads on it.
What's up, guys? I just got off the phone with Alexia's parents. They had set up a memorial on the side of the road for Alexia. So right now, me and Ahmed are just on our
Let me
way
just skip
to
ahead.
that location, and we're gonna say our last goodbyes to Alexia.
Not
You're
going to the
such a
funeral.
bad actor, bro.
Yeah.
I bought her these roses.
Yeah, there is a funeral, dumbass.
Oh my god, this is
It's almost like a comedy.
I think I want to watch the whole thing.
too much for me to handle right now.
Maybe
This
don't
is
make a
actually
video
the
out
same
of it.
road that she passed away on, guys.
Here,
Like
let's
I
just.
said, it was
I
a long
actually I
drive.
can't do this.
You turn. No, that's.
Maybe they'll see a ghost.
Let's just go say the final goodbye for.
I thought that's what this was leading up to when we
No ghost?
checked it out. No, unfortunately.
No Ouija board? That's coming up. He's gonna milk this.
Oh yeah.
Just say goodbye.
Oh my. We're gonna miss you.
Yeah, the parents set that up. That looks like a 5-year-old did that.
Yeah, it looks like you spent 10 minutes doing it before you shot this. Also, those are fake. Those are fake candles, yeah.
Yeah, he just went to party.
But the
City.
battery doesn't last that long. He clearly just set it up. Those don't last that long. Yeah, he just stopped at Party City for sure.
Do you guys have a memorial aisle?
By the way, there's snow covering the ground, and that teddy bear looks fresh as hell. Like it looks like it just snowed the night before.
I took this picture of Alexia.
Picture.
in my house. Look at her.
Those
She was
cars
always
are
so
gonna hit him.
happy.
We'll have a real death.
Always so happy. She just.
This is like
I've
this
ever
is
met in
like
my life.
as bad as YouTube gets.
It's new bad.
This
It's
guy's
like,
willing to do anything.
I thought he was at the level of like Lance Stewart faking a ghost in the house, but this is
It's a new low,
It's new.
frankly, to
He's
use
an
that,
innovator.
to use that term that's overused a bit, but it is a new low. But this guy is quite literally willing to do anything.
yeah.
Not easy.
Life. She just.
Lance
loved
actually seems like a decent guy
fish.
compared to
She loved
Yeah.
animals.
That's what always happens, you know.
right.
There's generations.
Mm.
Because when all those pranksters were going out of fashion and new stuff were coming up, they started to seem like not that bad.
You mean like how Logan and Jake Paul looked
Yeah.
in comparison? Right, they're different bad. I mean, SoFlo was such a cock.
Soulful is still legendary bad.
And the pranks in the hood were probably some of the worst.
yeah.
The worst shit
But the
ever on
Spider-Man
YouTube.
and Elsa was kind of like harmless.
Oh, yeah,
well,
that's when-
actually,
Well,
kids watching that,
yeah, there was some titty grabbing, weird sexual stuff for sure.
they're all bad.
But this is the worst, for sure.
Jake, bro, it's okay.
This is definitely the worst I've seen. Is that a Da Vinci hat? It's like a designer $500 hat.
I'll never find a girl like this again.
Jake,
He doesn't even have
let's
real
go,
tears.
Bro, don't worry, we'll
We
bring her
gotta
back to life in a week.
Without her.
Amazing.
Okay.
So, this guy kind of went above and beyond what was necessary, but I appreciate the hustle. This guy, some ordinary gamer, said that J Station is lying about his dead girlfriend. I've spent the entire night browsing and checking with police departments in Toronto and Ottawa. No police reports, no local news agencies, and worst of all, no family is confirming. So, I mean, he said, I legitimately felt so bad after hearing the death of this person. I wish I didn't try and look into it and lie to myself instead. I'm clenching my fucking fist and ripped some blood out, realizing that some fuckface actually lied about dying like this. I'm so fucking mad. Well, I mean, relax.
I mean,
As
you
well,
already-
that big
yeah.
deal.
He already did wrong when he legitimately felt bad.
I mean, we all knew he was lying, but I appreciate you going through the effort to. Apparently, yeah, that's what he said. But I think we all already know that. I guarantee you. Does anyone want to bet that he'll bring? Does anyone want action on that? That he'll bring her back,
Yeah.
resurrect her in a week?
I mean, is anyone here betting otherwise? I feel like we're all.
Yeah,
betting.
I don't know if
Or
anybody's gonna want to
I
take
mean,
that
the
bet.
other alternative theory that may not result in her coming back is they just broke up.
I had
Right.
that thought as well. And
But she would show
She
up
would
on
say
social
something.
media or something.
I think
Right.
so too.
right.
Or maybe he just had an agreement, like I'll pay you if you don't say anything about it. But I think it's so epic if he broke up with her and then's posting videos they pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. She's alive. Yeah, J Station. There you have it. I wonder, has he posted anything new? Let's see. How are people even taking this seriously, like making articles about it? He obviously made it up.
My last day in Texas. Decided to spend it with Halo.
He obviously made it up. Like, what are we debating? He made it up.
I mean, Kobe person is still being showed in classes, so.
Wait, that's a good point, Eli.
What's poppin', guys?
Wait,
so today
where-
That's his
I'm
other
J
channel.
decided to
Station.
spend it with Halo. What's up?
Wow.
So yeah, just picked her up, man.
Holy crap.
Just got off the phone with Alexia's parents.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
So
6,
this is his last upload.
7.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward
That
to the saga.
thumbnail is so legendary.
Yeah, I was absolutely blown away when I saw that. Well, I was like, if she really died, and before I really looked into it and even watched the video, now I have no question about it. But I was like, if she actually died, I wonder what can we say about it. But then when I saw that thumbnail, I was like, oh,
I feel like YouTube needs an award ceremony for worst, and then like this one could
The
compete for
Razzies
worst
but for
thumbnail.
YouTube.
That's a great idea.
Logan Paul in the forest would be a top one.
Guys,
That's a lifetime achievement.
look
award right
at this
That
thumbnail.
really slowed me down.
People are actually writing articles saying, yeah, dude, just what the hell are we even talking about? Oh my god. He's the trashiest dude alive. Just look at him. I mean, just listen to him. Just, God. Can you imagine hanging out with these people? They might have kids someday. What do you think about that? They'll probably kill their kid. They'll probably do a my child died video. I bet you he would.
They do have a kid. They ordered it off the dark web. I saw that video yesterday.
Okay. If they actually had a kid, if he had an infant child, 3 months old, he would make a video, my baby died. I can't wait for that. Let's review memes. From the reddit.com/h33productions subreddit. You can also submit them via podcast at h33productions.com along with any other inquiries or questions you may have. First scoffs president. Yeah. How it
Hold on,
feels
hold
loose.
on, hold on. Excuse me?
It's
He's
just
wearing a dead Kennedy shirt. That's not God.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I don't even know what is it.
Go ahead.
It's a punk band.
Why is there two Twitter handles here? Like, look at the shitty
I think
name.
it's fake.
The covering problem child and then Andrew Yang over it. What?
Take issue with that.
How it feels to listen to HQ podcast. I've seen this a trillion times, but it remains
Love
true
it.
and funny. Family members on Christmas asking me about my personal life and future. He wasn't messing around. Stay tuned. The day of reckoning will come, Papa said. And then soon after, David Baumfiend, Domino's Pizza CFO, dead and snorkeling after this. And former Dojo Pizza owner sentenced to 65 years for sex crimes against Dojo.
Wow.
That's a pizza reckoning.
What? Wait, did he say snorkeling accident?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they said.
What's that?
Stay tuned.
Die snorkeling.
Yes, snorkeling, bro. How'd you fuck up
We should
snorkeling that
ask
bad?
him about these stories.
Did he know them?
What
How-
was he doing during that time? I want to see if he's
Somebody
got
Where
an
were you? Does he have
alibi.
it
It
right?
is a real story. December 27th.
So,
Holy shit, it just happened.
We should just ask him on December 27th. What were you doing?
yeah,
Just out of nowhere.
yeah. How do you die snorkeling, though, for real?
Somebody just stuck their thumb in the tube and that was it.
But
He was
just lift
done.
your head up.
No. Like, it's
Snorkeling means
deep.
you're on the surface.
Oh,
I'm gonna assume he got
Yeah.
hit by a boat or something.
Oh,
like
okay, there you
something,
go.
Yeah,
There you go.
just happened to be snorkeling.
How are your maps?
Oh, Donald Trump retweeted Joey Salads. How good is that? I see he's changed his name to Joey Saladino. He's gone official. The Democrats impeached Trump for crimes committed
The
by
president
Joe
of the United
Biden.
States retweeted Joey Salads.
Honestly,
Can we
I'm
just take-
impressed.
I
take
know.
a
I
moment?
don't know what's. This is crazy.
How can any? How? I mean, guys,
This is crazy.
the president retweeted Joe. The sitting president of the United States retweeted Joey Saladino.
Praise Jesus.
Just, I mean, really let that sink in, folks.
This is a stupid idea. Why did I do this?
I don't know, man. Like, goddamn.
This feels like a small word.
I guess we know Donald Trump in a way.
2 steps removed,
All of
right?
us.
1 step removed.
Asians are bad drivers, me an intellectual. I would never say that. Who's this behind him? What is it?
It's
That was one of his
the
campaign.
It looks like
recording.
a cutout.
It's a phone.
The perspective's so weird. Is he on his knees?
No, sitting.
Oh, he's sitting. Keela becoming an American citizen to escape conflict in Israel. That's not really what happened. America starting World War III. That's, I mean, it's funny though. It's not like a refugee. I live there too, you know. Man of my word, if Trump gets impeached, I will donate my left testicle to medical research. You can quote me on this. Yeah, he lied. He erased this tweet.
How are your maps?
Did he really?
Yeah. because it
Yeah,
was
we
he
saw-
wasn't actually
no.
shot.
I didn't believe it, but I can't believe it.
Sounds
This is
like
a picture of Dan.
Oh.
Was this when you were in Idaho?
It was. I didn't realize that was him.
You
That was
remember
one of the
meeting
guys
this
I
guy?
shouted out. Yeah, no. I think that was the other Dan. It was a fellow Dan.
Look at you. Look how happy you are. Both together.
I actually went into a shop, and he was like the son of the woman that owned the shop. And he came out from the back and was just like, what the fuck?
Hmm. What kind of shop is it?
I don't know if I should say. I guess it doesn't really matter.
It's Idaho.
It's a shop.
It's a shop.
It was a little. It was actually an Irish shop. Irish. It was like, I don't know, memorabilia. They sold
Just-
like kilts and.
Oh wow,
What's the problem with
that's a
saying
hell of a
that?
business.
Well, just because that'll identify him. I don't know.
Well, what about his face?
Yeah, I guess. Well, now people know exactly what state he's in, and what kind of shop. they can
And what are
find
they
him at.
gonna do?
What?
Yeah, I know. I
Buy
agree.
kilt?
I just hesitated for a second. I mean, I don't know.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Possibilities.
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 That's
Why me?
It's you?
Yeah, why me?
It's you as the model?
That's hilarious.
What?
I'm not even mad. Weird. Weird though. Meanwhile, the HD podcast is on break. This I love. I've often been said I look like him. It's often been said.
When you had a mustache.
I think he's more handsome than me. That actor. I love this photo. Like what? How? Who? Like this is so epic. That's so awesome. Ian, what do you think? I mean, it's just a picture of Ian. Ian, what you doing? Merry Christmas. Oh,
What
because this was
the-
highly upvoted on the subreddit. Ian, how do you feel about people recognizing you on the subreddit?
Well, where did that even come
On
it's
his
just
Instagram?
Instagram,
Screenshot it
probably?
from my Instagram, I
from?
guess.
Oh, got
I
it.
mean, shout out.
It
Thanks,
had like
guys.
3,000
Merry Christmas.
points or more, I think. Ian.
Wow.
A lot of love.
Yeah, you should be more grateful to be here.
Very happy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was a soundbite. I know now. Another Papa John's pizza that was not sliced. This is an epidemic. This is a pandemic. This come from Wuhan?
Are we
Thank you, Zach.
are we gonna order Papa John's while Papa John is here?
I was thinking I want to do like a blind taste test or rating pizza slices because now he has no elite. Well, he still is the majority stakeholder, so he has a vested interest in them succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be interesting to do a blind taste test and he identify which is Papa. But that should be so easy.
But
feel like I
also,
could do that.
well, I could even recognize.
Maybe not. Let's
Maybe
blindfold
not.
you and put some pizza in your mouth. I just
Should
got a boner.
Should we order like 10 of the Papa John's to see if we get an unsliced one?
That would be a really funny idea, yeah.
Should we ask fans to come up with ideas of what we should do?
Yeah, if you guys have ideas to pitch that we should do with Papa, I'd love to hear it. I have a few of my own, but, you know.
We got some
This is a
we got some
once-
things in the works.
Yeah, we definitely
Once
have
in a
things planned.
lifetime.
No, yeah,
podcast.
we gotta capitalize. I can't wait. Oh, our next episode on Tuesday, PewDiePie will be joining us. That'll be really fun. And then
Via satellite.
via satellite, yeah, of course. And then Papa is the following week, or is he that week?
The following week.
On
next
Friday.
week we have.
Tuesday.
Next week on Friday we have
Oh.
Gus.
Oh, okay.
My mom
How
is
nice.
gold.
We do actually have 2 guests next
So
week.
it would be 3 guests in a row.
Wow, that's
Papa's
true.
on Tuesday or Friday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
scary.
3 in a row.
I get
Coming up.
nervous when I have big guests like
I
Papa.
know.
Papa's got to be like our most epic guest ever.
I mean, just yeah. I mean, because of the
Try not to
history.
think about it because that's the only way to really not freak out.
Papa
For me
John,
at least.
like Jesus.
I'm just trying not to even go there
Maybe
in
a
my
little
mind.
far.
Just a guess.
Yeah, he's more interesting than Jesus.
It's probably-
Everybody already knows about Jesus. Papa hasn't told his story yet.
I've had over 40 pizzas in the last 30
Why is that
days.
pitch shift? Why are you playing a clip that's pitch shift down?
Zach.
That was a mistake.
Well, don't let it happen again, ever. And finally, I'm just kidding. I love you. You know I'm kidding, right? I was being overly critical
Yeah.
of our humorous. But
It was really funny.
yeah, it's not. Shut up, Dan. You know, Dan's just all butter, like all me and him all the time.
Fuck you, Dan.
But I do have that problem where I like.
You do. You.
I try to. I be a dick because I think it's like funny or something,
And
but
it-
it's actually just me being a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
funny. I don't know where I get that from.
Big boy.
Your dad does it a lot where he'll joke, but no one has any idea that he's joking because it just comes off as real. You know?
No, I think it's different.
I know you're joking when you do it. I don't actually get offended.
But it's not funny. It's just it comes off.
I
It
suppose.
doesn't come off that
Yeah.
good.
The outside observer.
Funny.
Even to inside observers, it's like, oh, he's calling me an asshole. He doesn't mean it, but still, it's not funny. It's not that interesting. So why even say it?
Funny. It's a soundbite.
Yeah.
I need that here.
It's funny. And finally, or not finally, actually, I guess people are stopping students from doing Vape Nation because I guess it has to do with vaping or they think it's gang signs. So these guys
What?
are stoked they were able to get it into the
Snuck it
yearbook.
in.
This guy got it upside down, but that's fine. I get it. Trump, hey Siri, how many this isn't related, but hey Siri, how many miles did I run today? Siri, okay, sending missiles to Iran today. I actually more than what's written, I love this. The side by side is awesome.
Yeah, that's actually.
It's hilarious. H3 Podcast Bingo.
Oh, hey.
Mobility Mary. This episode's off the rails. Forgot to mention sponsors. Ethan's guy at YouTube.
It starts with Dan saying 2 is the freebie in the middle. That one always happens.
That's
Wait,
Ethan's
what?
guy at
Ah,
YouTube.
still
Oh,
going.
I didn't know I talked about it that much. Video won't play. Nobody made it this far. Dan laughing from
Oh, it starts
outside.
with Dan saying too. That's my dad.
We need to go to break. Insensitive comment. Well, that's up for interpretation.
Quip.
I pray to our
Wait,
credit.
Whip is the
Video won't play.
Hey.
That's so sad of us.
I already read that one.
Yes.
Sup. DD Mega Doodoo.
Did we
Ethan.
succeed
Yes.
today? I think we might have bingoed already.
I
today.
think.
Bradbury.
Yes.
In the document. This guy's like a mega fan. This is crazy.
Gross.
How long have we been going for? We did that today.
Right, Ela?
Right, Ela?
So, right, Ethan, big boomer energy. Well, that's up for debate. Right, Ela, dead air. What do you think, Ian? Are we going to get claimed Ethan's fair use crash course? So let's see. We definitely did how long we've been going for. Dan starts at 2. What do you think, Ian? I think we did that.
Yeah, we definitely.
We need to go to break. Forgot to mention sponsor. We did mention sponsor.
Damn.
We almost got a big Interesting. How long we've been going, Dan? This guy's so good. Oh man, this guy's actually doing the Gatsby in public. He went all black though, pretty classy.
We considered the black, but let the red one out.
Yeah.
Cherry, baby. You gotta keep it cherry.
Yeah.
Shout out to this guy, bro. I think I gotta take the Gatsby to Disney. Oh, he's got a service dog too. You know, that's not a service dog. I'll tell you right now. This whole service dog thing's out of control. You just put a tag on it, and these people just lie. Because according to the law, you can't actually enforce it or ask.
Right.
And so you have like unruly, literally like not even trained in the slightest bit dogs walking around with service dogs. They just bought on Amazon a little thing that says service dog. It's so stupid. People are just they're just liars.
Why is the law that you can't even ask about it? What's the problem?
It's some bullshit to protect I guess maybe they just don't want these actual people that need the help getting hassled all the time. I don't know what's the logic. And I think that's fine, but all these fucking people just lying about it. Just at least get your dog
Mickey
trained.
Mouse too?
What?
On the-
You want to take a close up on this? Are they at Disney? Yeah, that looks like a Mickey Mouse. Are they at Disney? Where are they?
Can you see the merch?
This guy stole my idea. There's definitely.
No. It just looks like they're at a mall. or
What's
something.
this?
Yeah, what's this?
He's got some kind of thing. And he's got the horn on it,
Fast.
bro. He's got a horn. He's got the same horn. He honks at people with a fucking air horn. Dude, he actually bought the Gatsby. That's so crazy.
I
Get,
mean,
what are those two cute
this is a
characters
luxury
there?
mobility scooter. I
Those
don't
are
know why
Disney.
you're.
You think he's a Disney?
I think he's actually at Disney, you guys. Well, that could be me, but you guys are playing.
You were snoozing.
Can you imagine when Theodore grows up and we do a family trip to Disney and I bring the Gatsby?
Not happening.
He'd be so embarrassed. It'd be awesome. When you watch all the old podcasts and find the moments when all the sound bites came from. That's pretty great. Wendy, as Ian coined, Wendy Williams, is denying Fartgate. Now, in the last episode, we covered Wendy Williams, who was caught ripping major ass on the television show. Here it is for everyone who needs a refresher, who missed the
That we
original.
live now. You can't just slap
Mm.
people on the booty. Yeah, of course, he probably knows
Because she's
it's not
lean,
right
she
from a
definitely
man
knows
to a
to
woman
shit her
or a
pants.
woman to a man, but you can't even do that locker room
That doesn't
thing.
look comfortable.
That cop wasn't
No.
playing that. I mean, you're lucky you only got battery.
Okay.
What if he filed for sexual assault?
So you all heard that, and Zach actually isolated it. Go ahead, Zach. That's. Are you sure
Whoa.
that's that sound? You're not messing with me.
No, I saw him extract it.
What?
On my
That's-
life.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot.
He
believe
boosted the gain, obviously. So
Yeah,
you know,
no,
it's
but I
more
can't
clear.
believe you got it so clean.
Yeah.
Go ahead again. Wow.
I feel like that's gross. Listening,
That's like a once a year fart.
it's like it feels like she's farting in my face.
But like, how often do you rip ass like that? That genuinely?
Once a year.
Yeah, once a year, right?
Sounds right.
Mm. Well, anyway, she denied it. She went through this whole hubbub of denying it, which just made her look even more guilty. This is amazing. The lengths she goes to deny it. By the way, she calls it Fartgate, which I really love. And I thought she was going to kind of embrace the Fartgate, but then she goes to this elaborate length to deny that she made a fart. You guys can judge for yourselves here.
I don't lean over like this to release a fart. I'm leaning over like this because it's comfortable.
No, first of all, the posture is completely different. She's leaning on the ottoman arm, but if
Right.
you look at the fart
She
clip,
was leaning on the chair.
she was leaning. She was like doubled over, like
on the
cramping.
seat.
Oh, tell
Like here, look, she's like cramping
Yeah.
here. She's having, you know what I mean? Like that is totally different body language, girl. I don't buy that. Like, oh yeah, this is the same body language? No.
Now she's gonna sit like this every
I don't
episode, you
lean
know,
over
to
like this to
Let me go back because everyone's clapping. It's like a weird Tim and Eric edit. What is it?
So he's
This
a
is
really
just the way her
easy
show is.
conversationalist. And we're gonna have a good old sit down.
I just like watching her. She's such a freak.
Whoa, no.
You went way too far back.
It's alright. I like watching Wendy.
All right, I want to talk
Here
to you
we
about
go.
something very, very
Hot
serious.
topics, literally. Warm topics, more
I've
like.
been going through this now for a moment, and I would like to have a private conversation
she
with you,
doing?
okay?
She's getting up.
what?
I love the shots of the audience being like,
She's putting tea as like
Fartgate. Now, let me tell you something.
who
right
are
quick,
these
okay?
people?
I do
Invested.
a lot here on this show. As a matter of fact, I might have invented a lot because now all other talk shows are trying to do a lot. but
Really?
This is just me, being just Wendy.
wow.
It's just me, Wendy.
Humble.
Look at all of these. What do you call I know you would say dick rider for a man. What's the female equivalent of a dick rider?
Those guys here.
No, but they got it riding her dick. She doesn't have a dick.
I don't know. No idea.
Mm.
Wendy Riders.
I imagine them like surfing on her vaginal pubes, like hanging on and flapping in the wind. Anyone? No, not as good.
You're not painting the picture here.
Why?
Are they
Well, they're small, and she's a giant.
How do you you surf on cubes though?
Ass. Get out of here, John. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't lean over like this to release a fart. I'm leaning over like this because it's comfortable. You know, if I sit like this all the time, you know, it's heavy on my spine. I don't have the back.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
not
girl.
trying
Yep. Who are these people? You know she ripped ads, bro. We were all there. We all saw it.
to get the back. I like to release my hips and lean.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if I shift my wig or I belch or rub my
Her
teeth,
wig?
I've been doing this since
Nice.
for 11 years, okay, on this show. I have never farted
Why don't you
once
guys
on this
back me
show.
up? Why don't our fans back me up like that? You know what I'm saying? I don't see my fans at home when I get in the shit and then they go, for me, they go. They don't give me that you go girl treatment.
Well,
Do they?
you don't see them, so they might be.
I need. Okay. Well, I like to think that they are, but sometimes I just don't know.
In fact, I barely fart. You know why? Because gas gets released several different ways, and mine is belching. 'Cause
Nah,
all I
you still fart. That's bullshit. The farts are the shit in your asshole decomposing. That's the process by which you absorb your food through your colon. You do both. Everybody does both. You can't say you don't fart, Wendy. Why's your name Wendy then?
I do is talk. Excuse me. Anyway, it went viral, and finally, and I was like,
She had a
no,
viral
'cause
moment.
I would have made a big deal. Like if I farted, I would have definitely been laughed, because farts are always funny.
Yeah, girl.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Just take a look at the clip, and then I'm going to go more in depth.
More in
That
depth.
cop wasn't playing that.
Look how
I
she's
mean-
doubled over.
You're lucky you only got battery. What if he filed for sexual assault?
So the first thing that's key to notice, because I wondered maybe somebody faked it because she was doubled over and she paused, and somebody had this genius idea to put a fart sound in there because it would look so real. But they don't deny that the sound is in there. Okay, they go to an extreme length to explain it away. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you all are on board with this. Clap if you know about
God
that.
damn it!
Right as left
No
cut
better
out.
now.
First of all, I went on with the story. Now, you know a girl like me would have been laughing at that. Second of all, by the sound of that fart, I would have had to go change my costume. I
No,
would
that
have
was a
left
dry one. I recognize that
mark in
now.
the seat. I wouldn't even save the costume. I would have thrown it away. It would probably be soiled beyond soiltivity.
No.
What I suspect, because me and my manager Bernie, we went over it. You know, I'm like, Bernie, I
Went
gotta do
over it with the
Fartgate."
manager.
And so he said, Wendy, I saw it. It's so stupid. Clearly, you know, there's somebody who superimposed the sound. And
It's
and
your
people do that all
show.
the
What do you
time.
mean?
You know what I'm saying? And then it goes viral and, you know, whatever. So that's what's up with Fartgate. Although Norman says he's got another
I
theory.
checked the tapes. The sound is there. It's
Okay.
not superimposed. But
Hey.
I promise to God, I promise to God,
Wait,
when that was happening,
Stop.
Wendy's like, wait, stop. You weren't supposed to say that.
I would like to have a second person to weigh in on this.
okay.
My trusty Steve, John Anderson. John? John, are you around?
Yeah.
Because John knows stuff. John, just
Here comes
stay
John.
right here.
All right, John's going to explain this whole
John.
fart game.
You know I'm a whole bunch of fun.
Right.
And you know I know how to get down and dirty.
Right.
There was no fart. Continue, Norman. Listen
Wait,
to
what
Norman
would he
saying,
know
and then
about
John,
that?
I want you to chime in. Come on closer so you're in the screenshot. Okay.
So during the show, there was like an incredible hissing noise.
I didn't
It was,
hear a hiss.
You didn't hear it, but it was very distracting to me.
Right.
So I'm like in the control. I'm like, guys, there's a hissing noise. Like, what is that? It's like, it sounds crazy. But Kate the chemist was
That
here.
was on Kate the Chemist Day. Okay, John.
Right, so we were doing an experiment out here with a tank. It's called air gas, and we didn't have the proper hose.
Okay,
for
this
it.
is
So
way
doing
too
hot topics
serious
the whole
right now
time,
There's
not
for
realizing
no
any of this
way
chaos
you
that's
just
going on.
ripped ass.
So what this tank
Listen to
is
that
This is
sound.
going on for too
is
long.
we were filling up a fish tank
This is
backstage, and we
a
didn't have
guilty
the proper
person.
hose.
This is, yeah.
So, in other words, when you drop like a piece of aluminum foil inside the tank, it's supposed to float in midair.
Okay.
So it wasn't working.
Okay.
Because we didn't have the proper hose, and the air was just coming
You know,
out.
she had a
and it
meeting
was
with the whole
sputtering
crew,
Oh, yeah,
like
they
somebody
rehearsed
was
this.
and she was super serious, and she was like, "You guys find what happened,"
Mm-hmm.
and then they all had to scramble
like,
and bring out John.
You ripped that.
John, explain what happened.
She's like Charlie with the conspiracy. She's like, no, we were doing the gas experiment and he heard the hissing. No. Dude, you ripped the ass lady. She probably did shit her pants. Maybe she did.
Okay? So that's what it was.
So it
It wasn't Wendy.
Thank you,
Yeah,
John.
you're welcome, Wendy.
was bullshit.
John's career depended on
Yeah.
that explanation right there.
He's like, everybody in my field has lost respect for me. They know you can produce the sound of a fart. Dude, it sounds like there was a lab on your asshole. Why? No. That sound is just so stupid. That somebody off camera is producing a fart sound that strong?
Dan, what do you think as the producer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they had this chemist on the same day is what they're trying to pass it off on, but it doesn't sound like anything.
Yeah.
Play it again, Zach. What, you tell me that's like a bunker? Like what?
But just all,
That
like,
is skin flapping with
So-
gas passing past it. That's,
so
that's
his
what that is.
his story is that they were doing these tests the whole time, but just this one moment where she's cramped over and pauses, then all of a sudden it's just hissing, but then all of a sudden it's. But also, who does like loud testing during a live show recording? There's bullshit, isn't it?
I mean, there could have been something going on backstage. But yeah, I mean, that would have required the sound guy to have left some microphone back there open, which is
No.
already unlikely,
No
and B, the microphone specifically is mic'd on this one valve making a squeaky noise. Like what? You
It's
gotta
such
jump
a
through so
clean-
many loops.
Yeah.
It's such a clean sound
Yeah.
for that to come through to Wendy.
I'm imagining if we wanted to capture a sound like that, you would have to rig a
Right
whole
on it.
microphone just
right,
for that.
right.
Right on it. That's such a clean, beautiful fart sound. You could put that on like an audio library. You know. And also her producer kind of messed up her whole story because he says, I heard the hissing and I told him to fix it. So what kind of set is this where he says, I hear hissing and it continues and then makes a fart sound?
Well, it's easily disprovable. You can just go back. Do we hear the hissing in that clip?
No.
Yeah.
There's no
Reproduce
hissing.
the experiment. I want to hear. Fartgate is not closed, Wendy. Fartgate is open and more
They need to release the tapes.
conspiratorial than ever. Release the
This is-
tapes. I
this is
demand
just like Watergate.
witnesses.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a brooder film.
But farting is funny.
Producer sounds so
I
nervous,
did a
too.
little research. You know what I'm saying? Just so I can give you a few facts about
Here,
farts.
let me tell you.
I
I'm about
love
to rip.
how
Tell me
much
if you
she
can hear
goes
it.
on about it.
It wasn't loud, but
I
that.
heard it, but it wasn't
Yeah,
loud.
but yeah.
Because
Thank you,
I
Zach.
apparently am not normal. They say the average human being farts between 14 and 26 times a day. I know!
Wendy, you.
Wait, so what are you saying now?
She doesn't fart that much. She's saying she doesn't fart. I can't believe you're going to such
This
great
is
lengths.
the sound of a guilty person.
God, can you look any
This
more
is
guilty?
R. Kelly going on the interview.
Yeah.
Saying,
Right.
leave me
killing me.
alone.
It's on the pause. How she pauses.
Right.
Right. Right.
I'm fighting for my life.
If that's you, I'll be honest. If that's
I love those girls. They're like, yeah. Yeah, you see, everyone's lying, just like you.
Now, see, I was about to give you some rhythm during commercials, but you just turned me all the way off. In the white shirt. That's
What?
you? I see three. Suzanne? I don't know what team they play for. Do you play for my team?
What are you
What are
talking
you?
about?
What is going on?
I don't. They
Aren't
look
people
like,
just
They look
confused?
right?
Uh-huh.
Three strapping men in the front.
Oh, they look like
Wendy,
they
you're a
fart
fucking
lot.
freak, bro.
Show is such chaos. Pure chaos.
Nobody even knows what's going on. Why are people even there? It's just some confused lady who's like farting, ripping ass, and everyone's confused. She looks like the Crypt Keeper.
I mean, it's not far from our show.
Well, at least I'm not like in front of a live audience acting like I'm the shit. With the woo woo, as a podcast. Nobody has expectations here. Crypt Keeper. Look at the Crypt Keeper and tell me there's not a resemblance. I swear to God. Hold on.
What? Wendy?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm telling you there is. Here, look. Dead air, 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 dead air. Okay, here.
What?
You see it?
Nah.
I see
Yeah,
three.
you do.
No, I don't.
Nope.
It's in the eyes and the hair and everything. I'm telling you. Y'all are tripping if you don't see it.
Okay, is Fartgate over?
No. It's just beginning. We demand answers. The American public demands to know.
She looks like a frog.
Frog?
Don't you think she looks like Crypt Keeper?
No.
You guys are wrong. Sorry.
Maybe a tiny bit.
Okay, thank you.
To give you.
That's enough. We can move on now. Alright, I'm ready. So anyway, she denies it, yada yada yada. But then this brings me to another Wendy Williams one. She was actually got a lot of shit recently, because she really is the worst. And it would be sad of me to not even mention that she got canceled. Aren't people just
They
confused?
Look, yeah, right? Uh-huh. Three strapping. You're lucky you only got battery.
Okay.
Oh, I heard it.
For sexual assault. You're lucky a woman to a man, but you can't even do that locker room
That doesn't
thing.
look comfortable.
That cop wasn't
No.
playing that. I mean, you're lucky you only got battery.
Okay.
What if he filed for sexual assault?
So y'all heard that, and
What are your thoughts on ideas and strategies to get the mainstream celebrity pop culture influencer into Call of Duty League to grow the awareness of it?
Zero. It's already happening. If Charlie from TikTok, who's gone from 0 to 7.5 million followers on TikTok in a month, you know, boyfriend next year is a Call of Duty player, that's way better than paying LeBron $1 million to say he's watching the match. This has been written. Written.
You got your perspective.
I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? YouTube, what's up? So grateful that you clicked and you're about to watch a new YouTube video. But before you do, 212-931-5731. That is my texting community platform. I'm doing a lot of one-on-one engagement in there, and also
11.
Okay, so 16-year-old billionaire.
We can make this happen together.
So let me say this. The answer is I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people here who are deep enough in all of gaming and casual gaming. I think all of us can agree if you think of Minecraft from an engineering standpoint or other things, if you're really objective, there are incredible amounts of game that's out there that speak to honing your math skills, your engineering skills, your intuitive skills. There's so much value from it. I would level this conversation up. There's a lot of parents in here, grandparents, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers. We demonize technology in a world where our children will only live in a more technology-centric world. The thought that you put writing a letter on a pedestal today, but being on your iPad for an extra half an hour as a negative, parents and humans are inherently in the business of no, yesterday, fear. I have 2 children, 10 and 7. I am uncomfortably comfortable with them being in and on technology every second of their life. Now, they won't, because that's not how the world works today. But it has been fascinating for me to watch the current state of parenting. A, demonize technology, but then use it to shut their kids up when they are drinking wine or hanging out with their friends. This has actually happened in my life. Because of who I am, and you go with the parents from the school, they will like yell at me about social media or technology, but then we're like hitting it off because it's like the second time the group is getting together, and their kid comes and they throw the iPad at them like it's a ninja star, and say, go over there, and it's the parenting hypocrisy in 2020 is laughable at best, and more importantly, much like the parents that did actually ruin so many kids over the last 20 years' chance to make $10 million a year being a gamer, who are now $137,000 a year lawyers and unhappy, or even not 137. There's some person right now who was supposed to be Tony Hawk, who was supposed to be Kelly Slater, aka Ninja before Ninja, the great pioneer of esports. She or he is probably 38 to 45, because that would have been the time, but she was told she has to go to college. He has to, it happens every day, and I couldn't be more counter to the current political correctness of parenting with technology. I beg for you to debate the world you think your children will be living in 25 years. I remind you that over the last every day that humans have been alive, we have underestimated humans' ability and the brain's ability to adjust to the reality of the world. Please go read the articles written in newspapers about the kaleidoscope. I'm being serious. And how the kaleidoscope was going to ruin the human race because children were running around Europe putting their eye in a kaleidoscope and weren't paying attention to the real world. We demonize Instagram feeds. Parents who laid in bed as teenagers and went through Vogue and 17 magazine and were on three-way chat with their girlfriends for 7 hours a day, demonize children going through Instagram, laying up. It's fascinating, and it's what has led to a lot of unhappiness in our society, and I hope that me conversating about it, one of the great things of amassing awareness is it allows you to talk about things that you truly believe in that may spark conversation. We are such lazy parents today. Technology bad. How about let's actually build self-esteem in our kids, which then will allow them to deal with everything. How about that conversation? Oh, but no, it's not fun to be accountable. It's much more fun to blame the Russians and Facebook. That's what I think.
We've got a question back here in the back.
Hi, Gary Mady here.
Hey.
Quick question: what was a driving factor that had you investing in Call of Duty as opposed to maybe esports that are larger on the global scale, like League of Legends or Dota 2?
The relationship with the Wilfs, the opportunity that was in front of me. I had opportunities with Overwatch. I didn't want to go there. My own personal intuition of League of Legends versus Call of Duty, me being comfortable with starting, back to my miraculous capabilities of understanding humans, I'm at my prime with America. I'm getting really strong in Asia and the UK and other places, but I'm an 11 in America. I'm a 7.9 in other parts of the world, so that gave me triple confidence. The culture, you know, when I looked at who are the 18-year-old basketball players, who are the 17-year-old rappers, who are the 13-year-old TikTokers of today that I believed subjectively on intuition would be here in a decade, and what's their relationship with video games, Call of Duty is way up there. So that feels like cultural relevance for a decade versus not. That's the answer. You're welcome. I think what's fun about talks like this is, for a lot of you, the way my content is distributed is, it's me cursing heavily on LinkedIn or in a 30-second Instagram where I'm contextual to that platform. But I think, you know, at least for me, and I appreciate the tone and tenor of this audience, like, I'm not guessing out here. There's a lot more thinking going on here than I like to play on the internet. And I think for all of you, you know, I'm starting to amass enough wins on the board that me saying that is not required anymore for more people, thoughtful people, winning people to be paying attention closer. I'm definitely not here for my health.
Let me tell you.
This is not for kicks and giggles. I believe this is sports and music are the easiest bets
See you soon.
for the rest of your life. And watching the evolution of both, I would be this passionate if we were talking about Latin trap. If I was right now talking about Bad Bunny and Becky G and Nicki Jam, I would be equally as fired up because I believe they are grossly underpriced, and Latin culture in the US, especially within music, is at scale. These people the people I just rattled off have more followers than your favorite artists. You just don't know it yet. And that to me is the game that will allow me to buy the Jets and win a Super Bowl.
Hi, Gary. Darren Glover. Can you speak on the importance of like the mainstream culture influencers? It's fascinating to hear all the analogies that always pop up between where sports was and then how sports became something crazy important. But all these relevant sports figures now that have grown up with social media and have 2 million followers that play Call of Duty or Fortnite just as much as maybe some of the pro esports gamers.
I see. You mean the Jujus or like the other sports stars playing these games?
Basically,
Okay.
as you spoke about, you talk about it all the time. It's relevancy, it's culture, it's
course.
Bad Bunny. If Bad Bunny plays Fortnite, how important is that to Fortnite?
It already happened.
Exactly.
The Fortnite event was Ninja
Right.
and Drake. It happened. This is what I keep telling everybody. This has happened. You might not have decided to look at it. You might have not looked at it from the proper lens. But that's what made Fortnite substantially grow. I know
Correct.
you know that based on your question, and that's what's gonna, like I said, I do not know the event that will make the Call of Duty League go to the next sphere. It will be something.
What are your thoughts on ideas and strategies to get the mainstream celebrity pop culture influencer into Call of Duty League to grow the awareness of it?
Zero. It's already happening. We don't need to do it. They play it and love it. It's just a moment away. If Charlie from TikTok, who's gone from 0 to 7.5 million followers on TikTok in a month, you know, boyfriend next year is a Call of Duty player, that's way better than paying LeBron $1 million to say he's watching the match. This has been written. Listen, this is why people think I predict things, but I keep trying to tell you I'm not. I really appreciate it, but it's not deserved. I'm regurgitating what's actually happened. I'm not fucking Nostradamus. I'm regurgitating what's happened. I just happen to know where to look. I might just be willing to spend the 25 hours, you know, to a month looking at the top charts of the App Store to realize that Yik Yak was something 6 years ago, but then disappeared. Or that Vine did this, or Social Cam did that, or Peach was supposed to be this, or Vero was supposed to be that, or Musical.ly did do this and became TikTok, or Path did this. I'm putting in the work. Just like I'm watching YouTube videos of sophomores in high school right now to figure out which college players are going to matter for Vayner Sports. It's just work. It's just work. People don't take work and put it into the right places, and they use media outlets to give them headlines to form their opinions. That's the difference between what I do and what most people do. I'm actually in the trenches, being an anthropologist, strategist, and actually doing the work, versus what most people do, which is they allow something in the middle to consolidate the information for them and allow them the bullet points and the headlines. And in that practitionership is the delta that has allowed me the luxury and the honor of sitting up here and being listened to. The work.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Yes, sir.
So, like you were just talking about in terms of doing the work,
Yes.
And most people don't do the work the right way. Within the concept of like doing the work the right way, whether you're planning a business or planning for your life, how do you view the distinction between like execution and strategy? Like, how much should you be planning for your work versus how much should you just be doing it? How do you view that?
That's a great question. For me, first of all, the answer is self-awareness. It really is. Because for you and I, it might be different. But it's a very important question, right? Like, somebody once said something to me, he said, Gary, you know what I love about VaynerMedia? I'm like, what? And I was pumped. But it was actually a razz. He goes, if I told you to get to the other side of that wall, you would 100% get there. The problem with Vayner sometimes is you would, and we were in a glass office, he's like, you would run through the glass and get cut to get there when you could have just opened the door. He thought he was razzing me. I was pumped. I was like, because I got him back. You know, it's fun chess, right? I'm like, brother, the reason you're paying me is because you usually pay people who just sit in this room and debate going to the door. So I'm pro-doing much more than I hear. I believe a lot of my strategy comes from the A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing that gave me the answer more than me thinking I can come up with the answer. However, not having a good strategy is always a vulnerability too. But it's a vulnerability of wasted time that gives you context, like this investment earlier. I've already won by the bet. This could go out of business. The learnings over the next 36 months are ROI positive for the way I play. So I think you've got to know yourself, because other people are far. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not.
Skip it up and that up. So some articles and people are claiming that the PS5 and Xbox Series X will hit a graphical dead end. And I kind of agree with it, but kind of don't. Let's get into it.
Do you have one of these? Do you have a Switch Lite or do you have a regular Switch? Then you should get a Satisfy gaming grip. They're a sponsor of this channel and I absolutely love their products. They make the Switch Lite and Switch really ergonomic. I use the grip on my Switch Lite especially all the time, and they also have awesome cases that you could store all of your accessories in, down to the power supply and everything else, all of your games. And there's also a link below in the description. If you use the code ReviewTech10, you'll get 10% off your entire order. I can't recommend these grips enough, and thank you to Satisfy for sponsoring these videos.
Now, I have touted since I started hearing the rumors and it's been officially confirmed what's going to be inside of the next-gen consoles. They're going to have the Zen 2 AMD architecture, which is what the 3000 series processors are based on from AMD. It's going to have Navi graphics. They're both the PS5 and Xbox Series X are going to have hardware ray tracing acceleration. That it's going to be a fairly monstrous leap from current gen consoles. I mean, the Jaguar cores inside of the PS4 and Xbox One are complete garbage. They were from day one, and they kind of held the 8th generation back. Yes, we saw significant visual upgrades, especially towards the second half of the 8th generation, but not really anything with artificial intelligence or destructible environments, because the Jaguar cores inside of those AMD CPUs in the 8th gen consoles are crap and couldn't handle it. So it's basically like it was the 7th generation with a prettier coat of paint. Well, in the 9th generation, that's going to be a big thing that changes, and that's going to be what differentiates the PS5 and Xbox Series X. But I
Hopefully
do
it'll have
also think we're
ray
going to see
tracing.
noticeable graphical upgrades as well. But according to CCN.com, and they're not the only ones saying this, we're not going to see that big of an upgrade. And it's a fairly short article. I'm going to read it to you, then we will discuss and I'll give you my take on it. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are going to be with us soon. That means a whole new bunch of games and an increase in how good our games look. At least that's usually what it means. While we're sure to see a whole bunch of new games, a developer, that's the developer behind the game Sword of Necromancer, warned to expect less of an update to graphics. As we approach photorealism, it seems more and more likely that consoles are going to hit a graphical brick wall. Back in the early days of gaming, graphical improvements were massive. The jump from PS1 to the PS2 was staggering, possibly even more so from the PS2 to PS3. The graphical jump from the 7th generation of consoles, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, etc., to the 8th generation consoles was much smaller. Sure, games looked better, but it was nothing compared to the leaps we saw before. Part of the reason for this is that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One have near photorealistic graphics and textures. There really isn't much room to move when it comes to graphical power. While the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X might not look better graphically, they will. That doesn't mean things in general won't improve. And then they go on to talk about how the next-gen consoles will have better AI, better loading times due to the solid-state drives, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not completely on board with this article from CCN. And again, they're not the only ones saying this. There is going to be a significant jump in hardware when it comes to next generation.
no
Like I
armor.
said, the processors inside, I have an Xbox One X here, and the PS4 and even the PS4 Pro and the base Xbox One, and we might as well just include all the 8th gen consoles, was very anemic. And we were already hitting the limitations of the 8th gen consoles right when they came out. I always use the same beaten to death example that I've used, but it's a perfect one, where we had games like Battlefield 4 not even running at 1080p in 2013. 2013 on the base PS4 and Xbox One. The PS4 hit 900p, the base Xbox One hit 720p with that game, and it wasn't impressive. I felt like the consoles were super limited out of the gate, while with this upcoming generation, they're going to be really powerful. It's going to be next to impossible to build a gaming PC with the specs these next-gen consoles are going to have at their price points. They're going to probably, I mean, I'm hearing it's going to be $500 for both consoles, around $500. The graphics card alone to equal the performance of the Series X and PS5 is going to cost you about $500, if not more. So I don't even think it's possible to build a PC for the price point of next-gen consoles. So you're going to see differences. They're also going to have the baked-in ray tracing hardware on the next-gen systems for both Sony and Microsoft. So there is going to be graphical differences. Now, yes, it's going to be a smaller leap. There is some truth to that. But they said going from the PS2 to PS3 was an even bigger leap. I disagree with that. I think going from the PS1 to the PS2 was a much more noticeable leap than it was going from the PS2 to PS3. If you think about it, games like Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2 actually could output at HD, and the original Xbox could output a decent amount of games at HD resolution. Now, obviously, there's more things to that. We had, better lighting and other things that happened in the 7th gen consoles, and that was the HD era where we had HDMI output, and the 360 eventually got HDMI output as well. But I don't think the jump was as big from... I think the jump was bigger from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 than it was the PS2 to PS3. And same with, well, there was no Xbox before the original Xbox, but you get my point. Same with the N64, you can say, to the GameCube for Nintendo. I thought that was a more significant leap than, well, obviously it was from the GameCube to the Wii, since the Wii technically was a GameCube with a more overclocked processor to handle some of the different operating system things that needed to be done and make games run slightly smoother. It was you do realize that the Wii was supposed to be an add-on for the GameCube. Fun little fact there. So I get what they're saying, but I don't. Yes, we're gonna see smaller improvements with each generation, but to say that it's gonna be a dead end where you're not gonna notice a difference, yeah, they bring up the Order 1886, how photorealistic that was, and they're right, it was pretty damn photorealistic, but I still think games can look better. I mean, we can't even get games on the PS4 Pro to run at native 4K. A lot of times they have to use checkerboard rendering, and games still look better on PC. So as long as games continue to still look better on PC, there's still room for improvement on consoles, and games don't actually truly look photorealistic yet. When you still look at characters, their faces still look somewhat mannequin-like. We've come a long way. There is more facial expressions and more realism, but it's not. I don't think we've yet hit that uncanny valley. I don't think we're there yet where your brain kind of gets messed up looking. There is some examples we saw where super high-end tech is hitting the uncanny valley, but we haven't in games yet, mostly. So I think there's still ways to go, and I think that CCN and other people saying that we hit a graphics dead end aren't looking at the whole picture. I think we still have more hardware horsepower we can utilize and make games look even better than they do on current gen consoles and current PCs. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a Review Tech USA member. I'll have a link below in the description. I live stream now on this channel all the time, and it gives you access to cool emoticons to use as well while I live stream. Again, link below in the description. Thank you for your continued support.
I think few will argue with the sentiment that Bethesda needs a big win right about now. It's just been one flop after another for the publisher, with games that didn't garner the critical reception that a lot of other highly renowned games did, or that didn't sell as well as they could have, in large part because Bethesda's reputation is sort of going down the toilet with the way they're monetizing their games, with sort of the shady intentions behind some of their recent releases, which is why Doom Eternal is one game that has to succeed and that has to maintain a solid reputation with how it releases, the business model that it enforces. It just has to be a solid $60 game, nothing more, nothing less. Any shady monetization in there would really drive people nuts, and it would just prove that Bethesda's going down this rabbit hole, this direction that nobody really wants. So a couple days ago, we started hearing reports that Doom Eternal might in fact have some kind of monetization, some form of microtransactions. This was an article published by Multiplayer First, and the editor here was concerned that microtransactions, or at the very least a battle pass that you can pay for, might have been confirmed for the game. So here is what the article said. In Giant Bomb's 30-minute gameplay look at the game near the end, you'll see the familiar Battle Pass rank up and progression screen. In another part, you can also clearly see a boosters category in the menu, which we presume will be for paid boosters in order to progress through your Doom Eternal Battle Pass quicker. If you look at what that looks like right here, so this is, I believe, the results screen of a mission. And down here, it does kind of indeed look like a Battle Pass style system. And then if we look at this next screenshot, not only does it show the progress of this Battle Pass like system, there is indeed a prompt right here, a tab that says boosters, which some could assume is some kind of paid system where you can boost your progress through this battle pass-like progression to unlock certain items and cosmetics and the like. So as soon as people saw this, they began to freak out. They began to think, oh my god, Bethesda, again, you're going to shove and shoehorn microtransactions in a game where that shit does not belong. That was the general sentiment, but fortunately this is something that a developer has recently addressed. The following information comes from Facebook. Here's a screenshot that somebody posted of Hugo Martin, who is a creative director of Doom Eternal, responding to a user who was concerned about potential additional recurrent monetization that could get in the way of the gameplay experience and the rewards loop. To those concerns, here's what Hugo had to say. No store. Nothing you can unlock in Eternal with XP has anything to do with player abilities or content that would impact your game in any way. The only thing you can unlock with XP is cosmetics. These cosmetics have no impact on how you play, they just look cool. Eternal is a $60 game, not a free-to-play game or a mobile game. Damn. We are giving you a complete experience with no store, just like you'd expect. Unlocking skins with XP is a part of the experience if you care about that stuff, or you can completely ignore it and it will have no impact on your experience at all, and it is all free. So no, ladies and gentlemen, there isn't anything else you can pay for in Doom Eternal beyond that base price point that you shell out initially to get the game. Now, that's not to say that these screenshots are fake. In fact, I checked out Giant Bomb's 30-minute gameplay video myself and can confirm that whatever this menu is does exist, but I can only surmise that it's a battle pass system that features no monetization, that isn't tied into monetization in any way. It is just a sort of in-game battle pass progression to unlock things. It's just a traditional unlock system where you don't pay anything additional, and where progression rate is designed in such a way that it feels rewarding rather than designed to make things feel grindy to incentivize players into purchasing these microtransactions or purchasing boosters for the battle pass. That's what could potentially happen if microtransactions were tied into this battle pass like progression somehow. But since the developers have confirmed everything that happens in Doom Eternal is free and that there's just optional progressions to unlock cosmetics, we can surmise that this has been designed probably around fun and making the gameplay feel rewarding, so you get something out of every mission and the like. So this is definitely very good news, and I'm relieved to hear this because I saw this article a couple days ago around the time it was published, and I decided to wait on this information because there is a possibility that what we're seeing here is not necessarily what we assume it is, and I'm truly grateful that Hugo Martin got ahead of the story here and said what he needed to say, confirmed what a lot of people were hoping for, which is that no microtransactions will pervade this game. And assuming what Hugo is saying is 100% true and that there isn't some subterfuge involved and that we're not going to get microtransactions after the game is launched, this would be the first game in a while for Bethesda Softworks that does not have microtransactions. It is very much anti-Bethesda right now, a company that has fallen into the greedy pursuit of that kind of recurrent monetization with many of their recent games. So just to walk you down memory lane, Commander Keen is a game that hasn't been released yet, but we know it's a mobile game. It is absolutely going to have microtransactions, no doubt about that. We have Wolfenstein Youngblood. Not only is this game a travesty for this series that a lot of people love, it also had a host of microtransactions elements that did not sit well with people at all. It wasn't super disruptive to the piss-poor game that is this product, but it was still just sort of the adding of salt to injury type of scenario. Then we have Rage 2, also featured microtransactions, fairly minor in their implementation, but still this was a single-player game, and this kind of crap does not belong. It just does not inspire goodwill among a community that already feels pretty disillusioned by this publisher that seems to be making one wrong move after another. And of course, Elder Scrolls Blades, the pure Elder Scrolls experience that Todd Howard touted back in E3 2018. This is just a travesty. There's timers, and you can mitigate that by purchasing these gems. And there's also pay-to-win loot boxes. And it is far from a pure Elder Scrolls experience because in an Elder Scrolls game, you don't have to wait to open the loot that you find in dungeons and such. And obviously, there is no system where you can pay real money to obtain the best items in the game, or rather to spin a slot machine for the chance to obtain the best items in the game. This is straight up just one of the worst things Bethesda's done, and one of the biggest lies Todd Howard has told yet on stage. Fallout 76, we cannot forget about that. There is the Atomic Shop with the overpriced cosmetics, and those were supposed to be the only types of microtransactions in Fallout 76 cosmetic, but then they introduced gameplay affecting microtransactions. Bethesda officially went back on their word that they would only have cosmetic only monetization. The Fallout First subscription was an insult, given that the game is not in a state where it even justifies the price of the base game. That's $60. A lot of people shelled out, and then the features that Fallout First launched with came broken. It is ridiculously priced. It is just disgusting, frankly. It is seriously insulting for Bethesda to think this is a viable option in the game's current state. And then even with games like Skyrim and Fallout 4, you may recall that they tried to implement what's called the Creation Club, which is essentially paid mods as a form of recurrent monetization for the company. So they've been going all out with microtransactions. They've been transitioning into that type of company, and it's just been a shame to see that. So at the very least, it's good to see that Doom Eternal, which is this beloved franchise and a game that genuinely looks incredible. I mean, the gameplay impressions are out there right now from this preview event, I believe, that happened recently. The impressions are super positive, and so just to see that marred a little bit by microtransactions would be a shame. It would just kind of put a damper on what could otherwise be just a perfectly awesome Doom experience. But Hugo here is saying that won't be the case. They're just shelling out a $60 product for us to play with no other caveats, and that's just good to hear in this current day and age. It is sad, I say this time and again, it is so sad that we can consider not being scummy to be headline-worthy news, because so many companies are being so scummy with game releases now. But, you know, I'll take victories where we can get them, especially in this day and age, in which a lot of AAA games have transitioned to compromising their core design in order to make an extra buck on the site, in order to manipulate players into spending more money than they really need to, purposely implementing problems like grindiness, among other things, in order to sell back the solution. No such practices with Doom Eternal, it would seem, based on what Hugo said here. And if that is the case, I am incredibly relieved, and I cannot wait to play this game and provide my honest thoughts and opinion. I have a good feeling about this title. I love that they delayed it, knowing that it needed more polish. Just all the pieces seem to be in the right place for this one. So fingers crossed Bethesda Softworks doesn't find a way to ruin that somehow before or after launch. I'm just relieved. I'm a happy camper. And yeah, just looking forward to this game. Hopefully I'll be able to review it for you guys. But until then, in the meantime, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on this Battle Pass style menu that we're seeing here, and then what Hugo Martin said in return. Do you feel relieved at all by this? Are you going to get Doom Eternal? What are your hopes and dreams and expectations for the title? Drop a comment below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out. Did you ever hear of the tragedy of Darth Silent the Hills? What could have been? What could have been? Kojima, Guillermo del Toro, Junji Ito influence, PT was amazing, and that trailer with Norman Reedus, that teaser, in-engine teaser, I might add, just looked brilliant, and I felt like Kojima was gonna really bring something uniquely Kojima to the seminal Silent Hill franchise, but then we all know about the falling out between Kojima and Konami, and since then we have seen nothing but a butchering of franchises on Konami's part. We all know what happened to Contra, the abomination that released last year, I believe it was. Castlevania hasn't been the same since the original creator left. Metal Gear, of course. We all know about Metal Gear Survive. Just lots of tragedies surrounding a treasure trove of IPs. And with Silent Hill, you can see right here, it's all been pachinko ever since Kojima's departure, ever since the cancellation of Silent Hills. Here's a trailer from back in August 4th, 2015. I mean, this is just... oh my god. I mean, look at this shit.
Look how they massacred my boy.
And then back in October 8th, 2019, we got another Silent Hill pachinko announcement, but this time with 4K Ultra HD excitement, 49-inch portrait J-curve screen, and interactive betting deck. This is Konami now. This is where the company's at. Now, there are some recent rumblings that Konami's thinking past gambling contraptions, and that they may in fact be working on Silent Hill video games. The following information comes from a Twitter user going by the name Aesthetic Gamer. This is a leaker who's gotten plenty of information correct in the past, especially regarding the Resident Evil franchise. So back in 2017, this individual leaked a Resident Evil 7 DLC that turned out to be correct. And then back in December 2018, this same leaker talked about how Resident Evil 3 Remake was already in development, and we all know that's true now. And then back in March 2019, the same leaker said that Resident Evil 3 Remake is coming sooner than expected. And indeed, we know now that the game is coming out a year after Resident Evil 2 Remake, essentially. Suffice to say that this individual has a very good track record, so when they report on something, there's usually some credence. It is rumor, so take it with a grain of salt like with any other rumor or leak, but the track record for this guy speaks for itself. So here's what Aesthetic Gamer had to say in regards to the future of Silent Hill. In other news, while I'm dropping this stuff, and I think I can talk about this, I'll mention there is a couple new Silent Hill games in the works. Konami, about 2 years ago, reached out to various developers to pitch ideas for 2 Silent Hill games, one a soft reboot of the franchise, the other an episodic Telltale Until Dawn style game to go alongside the reboot. I don't know anything more than that though, but I sure do hope Konami's given it the appropriate budget and found the right developer to make those games succeed. This is just a guess, but I'd say there is a high chance one or both of those titles may be revealed this year, but we'll see. I don't actually know their plans or anything about these games other than their existence, though I don't know much about the inner workings of Konami. Following the publishing of these tweets, website Rely on Horror posted the following article in which they not only quoted this individual, Aesthetic Gamer, but they themselves said that, quote, "We can also verify that while we can't discuss any details, we have also heard from our own independent source that a Silent Hill project is in development. These 2 sources are, in our opinion, the strongest evidence yet that Silent Hill may really be back from the dead." Even if these rumors are true, I think it's too early to say that Silent Hill is back from the dead. Konami may very well be taking a corpse and puppeteering it. Just because a franchise is back doesn't necessarily mean it's really back, you know, like Metal Gear Survive. Technically, Metal Gear was back with that game, but not really. It's all going to depend on how Konami handles these 2 Silent Hill games. So one of them is going to be a soft reboot, meaning it takes place within the continuity of the other Silent Hill games, I suppose, but at the same time it's going to try to be its own thing. The term soft reboot probably means that Konami's not going to erase the stories of the previous Silent Hill games, but at the same time they're pursuing something completely new that is somewhat far removed from those games, even if they all do ultimately take place in the same universe. And then the second game is going to be much more story-driven, much more linear, episodic, akin to a Telltale or Until Dawn style game. I suppose if it is a companion to the soft reboot, it should be fine, though that isn't really what Silent Hill is. It isn't a sort of adventure style game. It is a horror experience, and the soft reboot is going to fill that void, or that's the goal at least. Who knows if Konami is going to get this right. It does say right here that Konami is reaching out to various developers to pitch ideas, so perhaps there's some hope there. If Konami manages to reach out to the right developer, then perhaps they can work some magic and actually do Silent Hill justice if Konami as a publisher doesn't end up getting in the way of the developers, but we'll see. I don't know how to feel about this ultimately. We have seen Konami butcher so many franchises already that any time they talk about resurrecting an IP, it just scares me, especially after what happened with Metal Gear Survive and the new Contra game. Part of me just wants those IPs to stay dead than for Konami to revive them in zombified form, if you know what I mean. Now here's something interesting about these rumors. It does line up with a recent tweet by Masahiro Ito, who many of you will know as the art director of Silent Hill 2 and 3. On January 4th, he tweeted the following: "I'm working on a title as a core member. I hope the title won't be cancelled." Given how this aligns with the recent Silent Hill rumors, the speculation out there right now is that Masahiro Ito may be involved in these two new Silent Hill games and Konami's new Silent Hill endeavors. And if he's involved, maybe there is some hope, again, so long as Konami as a publisher doesn't get in the way with mandates, so long as they leave the developers alone, and so long as Konami manages to get the right developers who understand the Silent Hill franchise to tackle these new games. Keep in mind this is just speculation though. Masahiro Ito hasn't actually confirmed that he's working on a Silent Hill game. It is entirely possible that he's working on something else and that this timing is just pure coincidence. But the reason people are speculating that this could be Silent Hill is this last sentence right here: "I hope the title won't be cancelled." A lot of people are thinking this might be in reference to the fact that Silent Hills was cancelled. This could be an inside joke that's also hinting that he is indeed working on Silent Hill, and this is him saying, "I hope this new Silent Hill game that I'm working on won't get cancelled like the last one that Kojima was working on." So that's the vibe that this tweet is giving off. And then another bit of speculation, this one far less likely, is that maybe Kojima is involved in some way, given that he has been talking about after the release of Death Stranding how he wants to tackle horror games. He tweeted right here, "As to make the scariest horror game, I'll watch the scary movies in order to awaken my horror soul." Now we don't know what Kojima is going to work on next, but assuming that he is thinking of going horror with his next venture, it's probably going to be his own brand new IP. I just don't foresee Kojima rekindling that relationship with Konami or those two getting involved with each other again after what happened. But interestingly enough, Eurogamer did report on their article regarding this rumor that there's two new Silent Hill games in development that, quote, "Anonymous sources I trust have anecdotally intimated to me that over the last year or two, the ice has thawed between them." So while that doesn't necessarily mean they talk things out, it does mean that things have cooled down between those two, whatever contention there was. So it's not entirely 100% impossible that Kojima might be entrusted with a new Silent Hill game, but I don't know, that seems highly improbable to me. And Kojima, he's expressed plenty of times that he wants to move towards the future, that he wants to pursue new projects, try new things rather than look to the past. So I get the sense that, yeah, if Kojima were to make a horror game, it would just be his own brand new thing, removed from existing IPs and franchises. At the end of the day, my expectations for these two games will depend on who exactly is involved. Masahiro Ito possibly being involved is some hopeful speculation, and it'll all depend on which developer Konami chooses. If they choose to develop this game internally, I don't know if I'm going to have much hope. but the fact that they're reaching out to other developers could possibly mean that there could be some good that comes out of this, so long as it isn't goddamn pachinkos and the like. So if this is just gonna be more cash grab, that's gonna be really upsetting if this is just them trying to cash in on the Silent Hill franchise rather than actually trying to do it justice with the right people, the right developers, the right budget, and the right mindset. I suppose only time will tell how these two games pan out. It has been apparently 2 years since Konami has reached out to whichever developers have been involved in these rumored projects. So it's been some time. The game's probably far along enough that we might in fact get a reveal sometime this year, as Aesthetic Gamer speculates. I obviously would love to see Silent Hill make a comeback. The best outcome would be if the Silent Hill games turn out to be incredible, if they turn out to capture the spirit of the series, but for now, until we get more information about who's involved, I'm gonna hope for the best, but expect the worst, given Konami's history. I'm gonna take a more pessimistic approach to my hype with this. But if Konami can somehow prove me wrong, if the developers behind these two games can prove me wrong, I would be delighted. This is one man's take on these latest Silent Hill rumors. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on these two Silent Hill games allegedly in the works, what your hopes and dreams are, what your expectations are. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
What an uninspired title. Star Trek Picard.
And here we are. It's the biannual Star Trek funeral that we always have.
That's why I'm wearing black.
I should have worn black. I can't even say it was that bad, but
Some people wear a full jean outfit to funerals. Some people.
truckers,
Truckers might.
the old-fashioned trucker funeral.
Old-fashioned trucker funeral. Everyone put on your best denim. Head-to-toe denim. For the funeral of Bubba Joe. His truck flew off the highway.
They placed the trucker in the semi.
Oh yeah, that's a hearse. Like a
Yeah.
semi painted black.
Well, they park it on the highway, and then they douse it with like booze and set it on fire.
Oh, okay.
It's a trucker funeral.
Do they throw like porn in there and stuff?
yeah, porno DVDs.
Lot lizards come by to pay their respect.
It's very moving. This is weird because it's just one episode, and it's not like it used to be in the old days, Mike, when an episode was a self-contained thing. We essentially watched the first 10 minutes of a feature-length movie. I'm being awfully funny. I shouldn't be, because I didn't hate this like I absolutely despised the second season of Discovery.
Kind of like an AI sausage. Ew.
Right. It was off to a pretty simple start.
Yeah.
Star Trek Picard.
You got the dream sequence with Data.
As you predicted, of course. Everything you predicted was correct. You said that the girl would be Data's daughter. It might not be in the long run.
I had a thought, because it's kind of a dumb idea. What if she's Data's daughter?
You said some other things that were true. I think, did you say the dog would be called Number One? I don't remember.
I don't think I said
that's
that.
so obvious that, of course, they did that.
It's cute. Tell me something. Watching this, because Captain Picard in this seems to just worship Commander Data. Are they writing this? Like in all seriousness, are they writing this as if Picard had romantic feelings for Data? Are they? I'm not kidding. Because this man goes to bed every night and dreams of Data. and he doesn't want the dreams of Data to end. And now we have Data's daughter, right? But we also have like a big Borg ship that shows up at the end.
We'll get there.
I think this is gonna work out so that she's not only Data's daughter, but she's also got some Picard's DNA from the Borg Queen and Picard, thus kind of making her Data and Picard's daughter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're probably right. It's just whatever stupid thing you could think of. Picard liked Data. He tolerated him. He respected him. He wasn't his friend.
He kept those emotions close to the vest, but really deep down, Mike, he was in love with it. He dreams of Data every night.
Gravitational fluctuations within acceptable parameters. Flight pattern.
I'm sure you have done a complete investigation, and if you wish to continue it, of course you have my full support. We shall be reaching the Beta Agni system shortly, and I expect you to be rested.
The writers know as much about Star Trek as Jay does. Okay? Jay knows that Data was on Star Trek. So Jay thinks that Data and Picard were best friends. Right?
Oh, yes.
Jay, is this true? Geordi and Data were best friends, right?
Yes.
Data spent his free time with everyone on the ship except for Picard.
If you watch the show, the closest relationship that Data had was in fact Geordi.
Right.
Yes.
I consider Geordi to be my best friend. But you're not just another electronic system. Thank you, Geordi. Nor are you just another biological organism.
He had a special bond with everyone but Captain Picard. Captain Picard was there to do his job.
Mike, Captain Picard is the guy that does this.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else you can just make up because it's never been written before. It's a blank slate.
Lieutenant Commander Data, operations officer on the Enterprise was sent back. Did you lose faith in him?
Data, you are the key to this entire mystery. You have done nothing but block my every attempt to solve it. Why are you fighting? Computer, recognize Picard. Jean-Luc, Alpha 2 clearance.
Priority clearance recognition, Alpha 2. Orders regarding command functions are no longer accepted from your present location.
The Data I know would never have agreed to be a willing party to Law's plan.
I now realize that my life aboard the Enterprise was a waste.
I wish I had better news. Commander Data attacked us in the mission scout ship yesterday. Rawful and I have decided to send in an assault.
Data, we don't have time for this.
I cannot help myself. I think something is wrong.
What are you doing?
Hold very still, Counselor.
Emergency closed.
Now show me your warrior fierceness.
What else? So the writers know. Let's go on this theory. Writers know as much as Jay does.
Okay.
Jay, what else do you know about Star Trek: The Next Generation? Okay. Well, that hasn't
We'll get
happened
there.
yet. We'll get there. Yeah. It'll be. He'll say that. Look, for all the time, and we'll say engage. What else do you know, Jay? What kind of tea? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The Borg. Correct.
Correct.
No, Data did.
Though Picard may have had sex with the Borg Queen off camera before that during the TV series.
Yes, it's implied that she was around when he was Locutus, and in secret. But Data had sexual intercourse with the Borg Queen. Remember, she said, "Was it good for you?"
Yes.
Is that good for you?
And then the audience laughed. The things that most people know about Star Trek, like Data, the Borg, are all being kind of shoehorned in here and woven into the story in a ham-fisted, terrible kind of way, which it will develop over 10, 12 episodes. Picard is retired to his vineyard, as expected.
And he's got some like Romulan helpers, and I like that. That's a nice nod to the Romulus blowing up in 2009 Star Trek. Like, They have no home now, and now you have Romulans out and about in the rest of the galaxy away from Romulus.
Right, and they are servants to Picard because they appreciated what he did, and this is the primary backstory to the series, or this particular opening episode, was that when Romulus's son was about to go Nova, from what I recall, Sybok, Eric Bana, was his name Sybok? He shot Red Goo.
That would be just Spock, Mike.
No, Eric Bana's character.
Oh!
The bad Romulan from Star Trek.
You said the red
09.
matter. I know Spock had the red matter that he shot at the supernova.
Oh, was the supernova a naturally occurring event?
Yes, it was a naturally occurring supernova that made no sense.
And Spock was flying around trying to stop it?
Yes.
Single-handedly?
With his red matter.
Okay. Nobody was helping Spock?
No.
No other scientists, not the Federation?
No. Well, I think the only ship fast enough was the one-man ship that had the red matter. I think.
Okay. This sounds like the smudgy, disgusting fingerprints of J.J. Abrams and Alex Kurtzman. If you ask me.
Yes.
So they knew the sun was going to go supernova, right? And Romulus is.
No, the sun somewhere else had gone supernova.
It wasn't it was the Romulan sun.
Oh.
They say it in Captain Picard's TV show that we just watched.
When you first learned that the Romulan sun is going to explode, and the terrible consequences that would have.
129 years from now, a star will explode and threaten to destroy the galaxy.
Never mind
So
that.
it's not a random sun like hundreds of light years away. It's the Romulan sun at the center of their solar system.
Yeah.
So there's Romulus and Remus and all the different planets of the Romulan star system, and that sun is about to go nova, which I assume Romulans are pretty advanced in their technology.
Mm-hmm.
If so, not more so advanced than the Federation.
I am willing to assume they have the technology to be able to detect it before it happens.
The star went nova. All life in this system was destroyed approximately 1,000 years ago.
Your observations, your findings. Our scientists reached those same conclusions 2 years ago.
Perhaps some people could be evacuated.
Evacuated where? Our technology is limited. We're just beginning to launch small missiles.
So that's why I always thought it was an intentional event. Most stars have the phases, where they become a red giant, then they nova, and then they're what is it, white dwarf?
Yeah.
What's left over, which eventually dies and
Well,
becomes a black hole.
Have we seen Romulus' sun? Is it a red giant?
No, it was a yellow star.
Okay.
And it would have been a red giant for 10 million years before it goes supernova.
J.J. Abrams does not care about space. It's not that he doesn't understand it. He doesn't care to even try to understand it. The star went nova.
Okay. Thank you. My brain is just having too much trouble comprehending basic science. That stars
Well,
just...
then you should watch Star Trek.
Yeah, the new Star Trek.
Yes.
Suns just don't go nova like, oh, right? It's a process.
Our orders are to proceed to this star, Beta Stromlund. Scientists have discovered it is in the final stages of an alternating cycle of expansion and collapse that will soon result in a supernova.
It does, actually. It's instantaneous when it happens. But there are telltale signs that it's going to happen, and those signs last hundreds of millions of years, right?
Yes.
So, in this J.J. Abrams spin-off universe, which is the Captain Picard TV show, the Romulan sun just went supernova.
Yes.
And we're going to assume that it happened instantaneously, or else Romulus probably could have done their own evacuation.
Our scientists reached those same conclusions 2 years ago.
They have giant fucking Romulan warbirds and tons of ships. They could have done it themselves. They didn't need Captain Picard and his Dunkirk brigade to come and save an entire populace of a planet that is fully capable of doing it themselves, right? The Romulan Star Empire is huge.
I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that the logistics of evacuating let's be conservative and say 4 billion people, though Romulus probably had more than that.
10,000 warp dignitaries. A mission to relocate 100 million Romulan citizens.
Probably more than even the Romulans with their existing giant space fleet can handle, especially considering that that space fleet is probably spread out throughout the entirety of the Romulan Star Empire.
I think the big question is how much time did they have? Did they have an hour? Or did they have 10 years?
We don't know.
We don't know. So, Picard, without the help of the Federation, because in the J.J. Abrams universe, the Federation are xenophobic racists.
Yes.
Who refused the help of an enemy.
But the Federation understood there were millions of lives at stake.
Romulan lives.
No. Lives. And I believed we had a profound obligation to give it.
Many felt there were better uses for our resources than aiding the Federation's oldest enemy.
Well, fortunately, the Federation chose to support the rescue efforts.
Yes. Initially.
It makes you sick, doesn't it?
It does. Because when a planet says, our sun is going to go nova, can you help us escape? And they go, no.
The decision to call off the rescue and to abandon those people we had sworn to save was not just dishonorable. It was downright criminal.
The United Federation of Planets is not just Earth. It's about 100 planets
Yes.
of other alien races that are all, it's like the United Nations.
Yes.
But Earth runs it, is the head of it. That's where the capital is.
That's where the capital is. I don't know that I'd necessarily say Earth runs it.
Well, the president of the Federation is often an alien, as seen in other, it's never, not never, but it's not always a human being. It can be an alien character.
Yeah.
So it's based on Earth, but it's a collaborative of many other planets and cultures and races, and they join the Federation. It was one of the many different episodes of Star Trek is, can this planet become a Federation member? And so when Romulus comes asking for help, instead of just turning their backs on them, they would have helped, and they probably would have also said, squeezed in some diplomatic connections there, some diplomacy, said, hey, we'll help you escape. You guys tone down your belligerence a little. Let's sign some treaties. We're always signing treaties. But in this universe, they just said no.
I'll even give the show the benefit of the doubt that maybe Starfleet was putting as much effort as they could, but you still need a lot of civilian ships just to evacuate that many people. I'll give them that. I'll give them that, Mike. The thing that infuriates me is that apparently during this evacuation, synthetics, which really, at the time of the Next Generation, there were only like 3 of them. Data, Lore, and B4.
The Soong androids.
The Soong androids. They're only the Soong androids. Apparently.
Don't forget about
Data's fake mother.
Don't forget about Data's fake mother, who's also a very convincing android, and Harry Mudd's army of sex slave ladies.
I forgot about that. Yes.
There were androids all over the fucking place in old Star Trek, Rich.
All right. Okay, I'll even give the show that then. But apparently during this Romulan evacuation,
yes,
androids blew up Mars.
Androids attacked the Utopia Planitia shipyards, which is where Starfleet, which is different than the Federation, although the show probably doesn't know that either. So the synthetic people attacked the Utopia Planitia shipyards where Starfleet builds its starships. And they attacked it so violently that it ignited the atmosphere of Mars, which has explosive gas in it. As far as I know, Mars doesn't have much of an atmosphere.
I'll give the show the benefit of the doubt, and let's say, give them the benefit of the doubt and say like 200 years of building ships on Mars has released a lot of unhealthy gases into Mars's atmosphere. I'll give the benefit of the doubt again, Mike. What I won't fucking forgive them for is that this incident has turned the Federation into a bunch of fucking racist xenophobes who don't like androids or Romulans. Like, we're gonna stop evacuating the Romulans because some androids who weren't related to the Romulans blew up Mars.
I think Romulans are making androids.
And then this Fox News reporter lady
Yes, yes. That's the important scene in
is blaming Picard for the rogue androids who blew up Mars, even though Picard had nothing to do with the androids.
I thought we were here to talk about the supernova.
A group of rogue synthetics dropped the planetary defense shields and hacked Mars' own defense net, wiping out the rest of Armada and completely destroying the Utopia Planitia shipyard.
And so, yeah, Picard's like, we're here to talk about the, what is it, 10th anniversary of the supernova. And then she starts hitting him, you know, and he crumbles under the pressure of this news reporter who hates Romulans.
Yeah.
And I get what they're doing. They're doing some modern day politics.
It also destroys Star Trek.
It destroys the core ideas of the Federation. And I think, like Patrick Stewart was like, the Starfleet, the Federation that we see in Star Trek Picard is very different from the one from the Next Generation. It's now evil. Okay, you're talking about America.
Star Trek has always done political analogies.
Yes, let's talk about that.
But they have done it in a way that, oh God. They did it in a way where you still had your optimistic future. I always loved that optimistic future about Star Trek. I always have. My favorite fucking moment in Star Trek. I don't know if I've told. We've done like 5 of these Star Trek reviews. Stop me if I've talked about this before. But the Abraham Lincoln space episode, as corny as that is, but you have Abraham Lincoln on the bridge of the Enterprise, and he uses an outdated, offensive term.
The charming negress.
To Uhura.
To Uhura, and Lincoln, even fake Space Lincoln, being a kind man, looks to Uhura and apologizes.
Oh, forgive me, my dear. I know that in my time some use that term as a description of property.
And Uhura is utterly confused by this for a moment. And then she realizes what happened and she laughs. And it's a beautiful fucking moment because the Federation, humanity is so good in the future. Racism is so dead, she doesn't even know to be offended by that.
The foolishness of my century had me apologizing where no offense was given.
We've each learned to be delighted with what we are.
And it's such a thing of the past that it's forgotten.
It's completely forgotten about. It's this wonderful, bright vision of a humanity that made it. It's something we can look forward to. It's inspiring to me. And now we're coming along, and there are a bunch of fucking xenophobes and racists, and fuck that. Fuck that. Stop shitting on Star Trek, man.
This is a good sign. We have a reflection of today's hostile, divisive political environment that we're in.
And
it's sci-fi writers that are a little too full of themselves. And sci-fi writers I put in quotation marks. Gene Roddenberry, he was a visionary. He had this idea like you just described very eloquently.
Yeah.
And that is no more. That died after he died. It started to crumble slowly. I don't know. Did it start with Deep Space Nine being a little too gritty?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Deep Space Nine was a good show, but I never wanted Deep Space Nine to become the new normal. You know? I'm like, okay, they did their cynical, dark show. That was good. Now let's get back to it. And no. It just devolved into action schlock.
Well, I mean, Voyager maintained the spirit for the most part.
For the most part. But you had the next-gen movies going on during that. And the next-gen movies were very much in the dumb, we only care about action vein.
Yeah. I wish they never made the next gen movie.
Yeah.
I wish it just ended there. So what happens next?
Where did we leave off?
Well, we were talking about the backstory about how Picard took a convoy of Romulans and everybody, and it was controversial that he decided to help the population of the planet escape a supernova. Because Romulans have been a sworn enemy. They haven't been a sworn enemy in the Federation in decades. Remember they all teamed up at the end of Star Trek Nemesis?
You've earned a friend in the Romulan Empire today. I hope the first of many. They never had open war either, as far as I know, right?
I think there was an Earth-Romulan war like years before Kirk's time.
Was that before the Federation, though? Was that like...
It was very early in the
Yeah.
Federation. It was like 100 years, ago.
Yeah.
In this timeline. So yeah, because then they went and disappeared for a very long time, and then they came back.
Well, it was a big deal when they appeared in Kirk's time, too.
Right.
They're
elusive.
famously reclusive.
Famously elusive and reclusive.
Yeah.
And then they were always kind of sketchy, villainous characters throughout the next gen. But then after that, the Dominion.
They were always my favorite villains because the Romulans always had fun, clever plots where they would try and trick people, and they had like schemes.
Yeah,
where
they were scheming.
We're gonna try and trick the Enterprise to cross the neutral zone so we can claim politically that they're violating our space, which will allow us to move into this territory. Always have some kind of clever plot, like in Star Trek Picard, where they're building a giant Borg super weapon.
Yeah, what was happening there?
They're building some kind of giant Borg cube, the Romulans.
My brain shut off at that point.
We don't know exactly what it is.
The girl, our girl character is named Blal
Dash.
or Dal.
Dash, not Vash.
Oh, Dash?
Dash.
Dash. See, that's the thing. I couldn't understand what anyone was saying while I watched the show.
Are you becoming elderly?
I think I am, because she's like, my name is Flash.
May I ask your name?
Dash.
Dash.
And then I'm like, what? And then Picard's talking to the hologram, like, library assistant, and he's like, what is the title of this painting? She's like,
this painting is called Daughter.
Ciao, Virginia. I'm like, did she? I thought she said daughter, and then I thought she said
daughter. They said daughter. The painting is daughter.
Dodger. That's what I thought she said. Then I said daughter.
It's funny that you have that
Dustin,
on a note.
Daj. What is the character's name?
Dash.
D-A-J, D-A-S-H, dash, or like, how do you spell it?
Daj. I think they were trying to make, I'm not entirely sure, but I think they were trying to make you think that she might have been Picard's daughter with Vash, his love interest from TNG for one episode?
No, but see, these writers don't remember that. Jay, do you remember Vash? Okay, the writers don't remember that. They don't know what that is, Rich. They know Borg Cube, Data, set phasers to stun, and Earl Grey tea.
Tea, Earl Grey, decaf.
Earl Grey. Never fails. Okay, and Romulans. They're going to shift away from Klingons to Romulans in Picard, at least for the first season. Everyone knows Klingons, but they did that in Discovery.
Yeah.
Jay knows Klingons and Romulans. I'm pretty sure. And Vulcans, too, right? You've heard of these names? Yes. No. Klingons, Romulans, and Vulcans. That's it.
Do you know Cardassians? No.
So, girl, Valage, Dajan,
Daj,
Dijon, Daj is living in Boston with her boyfriend, and they're drinking wine, and she just found out she got accepted to the Daystrom Institute because she's most likely an android and very smart. Then what we find out later are Romulans in biker costumes beam into her apartment and kill her boyfriend with a knife, and then try to knock her out by hitting her in the head.
It's not entirely clear what they were
They
trying
put a bag
to do. They
over
were
her head.
probably trying to knock her out, but they were also like hacking into her brain or something.
They were very inefficient for having a complete and total surprise advantage, right? They could have set their phasers to stun, beamed in, and shot them both in less than a second. But instead they go through this whole rigmarole of throwing knives around the room and trying to put a bag over her head in the fucking 24th century?
Why use stun settings when you can just violently stab people? It's far more exciting when you violently stab people.
And then they put a bag over her head, I guess to suffocate her?
Knock around.
Maybe the bag has
They
like
didn't want her
chloroform
to
in it?
see what they were doing.
It has ether in it? Or chloroform? They're going... Are they like hipster assassins that use like 300-year-old methods of knocking people out? Even though they can beam into the room instantly and stun someone. So they put a bag over her head, but she activates, and then we have a fight scene that we watch for 10 minutes that's ultimately pointless. She then has a dream, or she sees Picard in her mind's eye.
She has a vision of Picard.
Yeah, and then that coincides with Picard being interviewed by Fox News, where they do a gotcha interview, and they start asking him why he tried to rescue people. And then he has to explain to the news reporter that Romulans are people too, and they're not just mud creatures that Fox News despises.
I hate what they've done to the Federation so much.
So then she goes to Picard for help, and Picard then randomly speculates that she could possibly be a robot.
I think the attack on you might have acted as some kind of wake-up call.
That damn ringing. Answer it, will you?
Like a positronic alarm bell.
No.
Be quiet.
You think I'm crazy? Do you believe me?
Well, Picard has sexual dreams about Data, and Data's painting. And Data's painting a lady in a gown standing on the rocks looking over the ocean who doesn't have a face.
He knew when he woke up.
Yes, and then he has a painting by Data. There's 2 copies, and one that has the face of the girl.
No.
So the girl then goes to Picard,
Oh.
tracks him with her brain. Yeah. Because Picard says, "You can't track me because you have security clearance."
Shut up.
There's a microchip in his head now.
By the way, Data knowing what his daughter was going to look like 30 years in the future, that is one of those things that's never going to be explained because I was
It's a mystery. It's a mystery. So she goes to Picard and says, "Help me, everyone, Picard. You're my only hope. I saw you in a dream. I saw you on
No!
and you hold the keys." And he goes, "You're Data's daughter."
Nana, Jin, Lex.
My very best lover, friend, who I constantly obsess about 30 years later, who I didn't give a shit about for the 7 years I've served with him.
And then he tells this girl he just met, "I'm going to stay with you forever."
Yes.
And protect you always.
Yes.
I will never leave you.
Because you're Data's daughter and you're very special. Didn't he tell Data to disassemble LOL?
I have decided to allow my child to choose its own sex and appearance.
Commander Data, at your convenience, I would like to talk with you in my ready room. Counselor.
He's like, he was pissed when Data made LOL.
I insist we do whatever we can to discourage the perception of this new android as a child. It is not a child. It is an invention.
Data made LOL in secret, remember? He just did it. And then he's like, "Counselor Troy, come here. Look at this." And she's like, "Oh my god, the ramifications of what you've done, Data." And then Picard's like pounding his fist on the table like, "How dare you?"
Then the bad guys show up. And can I say, I'm pleasantly surprised that they weren't Section 31. Because New Trek has a fucking hard-on for Section 31.
Because that's the fan base now. Violent hard-ons is the fan base. That's what they call themselves now.
Star Trek fans have
We've
just
gone from Trekkies. Long gone are the simple days of Trekkie and Trekker, that debate. Now they call themselves violent hard-ons. Yeah, you a violent hard-on? Yeah. I am. Did you watch fucking Picard last night? Yeah! Come on over, bro!
It's so shameful.
Anyway, okay, back to Star Trek Picard.
The Romulans show up to do something with Daj.
By the way, those could be Section 31 Romulans. Don't discount that.
That would be like the dumbest, least knowledgeable about Star Trek thing to do ever.
Yeah,
So yes, that's
yeah.
definitely going to happen. They're now Section 31 Romulans.
Yeah, why not? Let them in. They're defector, and Romulans have no home, right? So Starfleet recruited 100 Romulans that was like really good super secret agents, right? Because that's what Romulans do.
That's going to be the reveal. They're former Romulan secret agents, but since Romulus blew up, may as well join our secret agency.
That the Federation would secretly have recruited Romulans into Section 30
yeah,
to
okay.
do some kind of bidding.
Yeah, we can't get away from Section 31, not Alex Kurtzman.
No, don't. And plus, they're having a spin-off show, so don't discount anything that's too stupid. So, okay, Romulans in biker costumes attack Picard and the little girl.
Picard and Daj do the most logical thing, so they run up to the top of the building.
Yes.
And Picard is trotting up some stairs, and we only see him from behind, which makes me think they used a stunt double to have Picard jog up 5 stairs.
We can
Well,
probably
if
find
I
some
recall,
kind of
lightning.
IMDb credits, but I'm gonna guess you're right because, and that's not.
That's not even a knock. I mean, he's a
not a knock.
79-year-old man.
It's not, and also, you know, he could trip running up even 3 steps, fall, injure his knee, break his hip.
Yeah.
And we're not making old folks jokes, but it's possible it could happen, and that, you know, that would fall for production. So very likely. Other than scenes where he's standing or sitting, if he has to do physicality, they probably had a stunt double.
What if he has to sit up?
I guess
Is
he
that
could
CGI?
He throws back
He
out.
throws back out.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
There's like handlers that actually lift him up, but they take them out digitally.
Let's talk about the scene.
Okay.
This logical scene. Picard and Daj. Picard and Daj. I'll never remember that name. It's so forgettable. Picard and Daj are sitting outside of Starfleet Archives.
It's some kind of museum-y archive thing.
A wing of Starfleet Academy.
Can I say in Picard's little section of that archive, why would he keep that stupid fucking Captain Picard Day banner when he fucking hates children?
The archivist kept it.
Okay.
Oh, you mean like on the ship?
Why
Like
would
what?
Picard have even kept that long enough for it to end up in the Picard archive?
Here's an answer.
Uh-huh.
Counselor Troy took it down after Picard stormed out of the little thing and folded it up, rolled it up, and put it either in her quarters or in storage. And then, I guess, when the Enterprise D crashed in flames, somebody got it.
he tossed the Kurlan Deskar out to the side. He made sure to say that Captain Picard Day banner.
Okay, Daj and Picard are outside the archives, the Federation archives, and they're sitting very clear by doors inside a building, which probably has many other people, maybe security officers.
They're in San Francisco, in the heart of Starfleet, presumably right next to a building that's full of Starfleet personnel.
Yes, and she says, "Oh my God, they're coming to get us. I can sense them with my android brain somehow." And she says, "Come on, 79-year-old man, let's run up a flight of stairs to a wide open rooftop where we could be visible from anywhere."
I'm going to give the show credit for addressing that because Picard barely makes it up the stairs and says it. I give them credit for not treating Picard like a young action hero.
Oh, yeah. But the purpose of going up the stairs to a rooftop?
None.
Did they have a spaceship there?
I didn't see one.
Was Picard's shuttle there that he came down to the Starfleet headquarters?
I did not see one. I presumed he just beamed over there.
Yeah, okay. What was on the roof then?
Nothing. A stairwell that they could kick someone off of.
Good answer, because that's the correct one. So then
Daj turns into Neo from the Matrix.
Yes.
And starts flying in the air.
Oh, she runs up the stairs like a Jedi.
No, she doesn't run up the stairs. She jumps up the stairs like Neo from the Matrix.
Oh, yeah. And then she kicks everyone's ass. in a scene that goes on way too long. The Romulan agents, the Romulan guy in a biker helmet is exposed because his glass breaks on his biker helmet.
Well, that's the big Romulan reveal.
Yes, and he bites a cyanide capsule essentially, but it's acid that melts his face, and he spits it on her. She starts to melt, and he also overloads his phaser rifle, which causes her to melt and start on fire and explode.
Yes. Anyway, then Picard goes to the Daystrom Institute.
Yes, in Japan.
Where he meets not Bruce Maddox from that old TNG episode, but his assistant.
Yes, they reference Bruce Maddox, which is interesting.
May I present Commander Bruce Maddox? Commander?
And this is where we find out that she was cloned from one of Data's positrons.
The girl was?
Yes.
Well, it's speculated. It's not confirmed.
Okay.
Well, remember, he shows up, and the first thing he says to the lady, her name is what? Like Ellen or?
Whatever her name is.
Oh, Agnes, how can I help you?
He says, I want to create an android that's all flesh and blood.
You can tell me if it is possible to make a sentient android out of flesh and blood.
No, I hate that thing. I hate that thing. I hate that.
That makes no sense.
And I'm like, isn't that basically a person? And then she laughs and says, no, maybe 1,000 years from now.
Oh, God, then she misunderstood. He was just trying to get her in bed.
Just for a nap, though. So then she explains B4 to the audience, that B4 was a bad copy of Data, failed version of Data. Oh, that's the other thing. From the earlier part of this show, I said there's another thing that you will accurately predict.
Okay.
And I said, she can't be Data's daughter because Data exploded into it. And you said, well, someone went out in all the debris and found pieces of him.
Yeah. You can do anything.
So, because at the end, they describe that weird Borg cube that is being built.
Mike, if you want to know what stupid writers are going to do, you ask a stupid person. I'll tell you exactly what something stupid is going to be written. I'll tell you exactly what that is.
Rich, they need you for that writer's room. When they hit a wall, or they just look at you, and you just say the stupidest thing that you could think of, and then they go with it. So that weird Borg cube that is being built by Romulans?
Yes.
Which I predict will be a giant Borg cube to revenge on the Federation at the end of this season because of their reluctance to save the Romulan people. I need money.
I was thinking they were going to use the technology to reignite their star, but no, you're right. It's going to be a giant super weapon that will wreak havoc upon the Federation.
Because they want to get their revenge. So they're slowly building a Borg cube because after the Riemann ship exploded with Shinzon on it, and Data, they went, because it says Romulan Reclamation Facility or something like that. They went and they scooped up all the debris from that battle, and they found bits of Data, literally, Data himself. And they found his little, I don't know, they made up something. Data's molecules or some shit like that, right?
Oh,
a positron?
A positron. They're going to clone Data's daughter, and it can only make twins from one of Data's positrons.
Yeah.
Positron is just like a particle in an atom.
Okay.
It doesn't have like DNA in it that you can clone an android from.
Yeah, but it does now.
But
so
it does now because Alex
Data's,
Kurtzman is writing this show.
They found Data's positrons. I don't know how that relates to a Borg cube. They do show Borgs in this, and we know 7 of 9 appears. I think, here's something stupid, the Borg are helping the Romulans build the Borg cube, because they want to get revenge on Picard and Earth too.
Are the Borg trying to make a race of super androids?
Sure, why not?
So they can be even more androidy?
Yeah. A Borg android Romulan hybrid
that will fight Captain Picard at the end of the show?
No, erase him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to invade her.
Well, they're gonna have one like main one that controls all of the smaller Borg, Romulan, Data androids.
That 10,000 Starfleet shuttlecrafts have to shoot lasers at. No, it has the cunning, of a Romulan, the intelligence and cunning of a Romulan, the strength of a Borg, and the indestructibility of a android. Okay. So it has all these components. They all want revenge on Starfleet and Picard. And they want, no, I know why. The Borg cube wants to blow up Earth. That's a Borg cube flown by Romulans. Wants to blow up Earth because Earth didn't help them. But also the Borg want to get Picard back as Locutus, to lead the Borg into a new age. So they both have similar goals. So they decide to work together to build a giant Borg cube manned by Romulan Borg android hybrids.
I love it.
Okay.
It's the dumbest idea we could think of. It's definitely going to happen.
I don't know why she was working on a Romulan Borg cube being under construction, but I'm sure 7 of 9's going to know all about it, and she's going to go tell Picard. Don't go on this mission, Picard. They're out to get you, to bring you back to be Locutus again, because remember Locutus?
Is Picard going to fight Locutus? Is Locutus going to be the mastermind behind this?
Like old Arnold fighting CGI young Arnold?
Yes.
What?
So quite a few people have noticed by now that Digital Homicide has crawled out of its squalid little shithole in an attempt to flog more of its ridiculous games with a brand new website, Digital Homicide Uncensored, how raw, which contains a blog full of, in my opinion, a pack of fucking bullshit. After the last time they publicly humiliated themselves when I heard of this blog, I initially thought, you know what, I'll ignore it. I won't respond. They're doing their usual song and dance routine. They put their stupid games up on itch now. What's the best way to draw attention to themselves? Bring me up again. For all their claims over the years that they've just wanted to be left alone, they really like drawing attention to themselves with combative blog posts full of nonsense because they're still, after all these years, so fucking bitter about the fact that James Remine tried to sue me for $15 million for an absurd amount of money that, by the way, he didn't even get the math right on in the lawsuit because he's a fucking bonehead. They're still so bitter about this lawsuit that was never from Digital Homicide, wink wink. It was only from James Remine, wink wink, which was dismissed with prejudice, which is about the best result they could have hoped for, because there was no way me with a real lawyer versus James Remine with his baby's first lawsuit kit was ever going to pay the fucker one thin dime, let alone $15 million, which again, I need to tell you, was totted up wrong. The math in the lawsuit was wrong. The individual amounts he claimed I would owe him did not add up to the overall amount, because, bonehead, they are fucking lucky they got off fucking lightly. But now they're back whining about the injustices of the world, complaining about being misrepresented, while publishing posts that are full of misrepresentation, which again is why I'm here, because I wasn't going to respond to this. Then I made the mistake of reading some of their utter shite. Now I know there are some people that never want to see me talk about Digital Homicide again, and those people aren't necessarily wrong. This doesn't need to be raked up. But considering these imbecilic goons cost quite a lot of money in lawyers' fees, I'm always going to reserve the right to verbally kick the shit out of that pair of imbeciles. Anyway, there are things in the blog I want to address because, again, this is very personal for me. I will ignore most people who misrepresent me, 99% of the people that publish shit about me. I ignore, I don't read their work or watch their videos or what have you. But again, Digital Homicide, bit more personal than that, and seeing Robert Romine be so fucking duplicitous in the blog posts he's published, well, I am going to be self-indulgent and go through some of Robert Romine's garbage, figuratively. I don't want to get another stupid lawsuit claiming that I threatened to go through his bins. So Robert's already posted 3 articles in 2 days, because this is what the Romine brothers are like. They just can't stop picking at their own emotional scabs. This first one, what happened to digital homicide? It's some top-shelf whining, and they've made themselves some funny little points. Was digital homicide an asset flipper? Contrary to massive amounts of articles and videos on the topic, I never took a complete project and published it under digital homicide like it was my game. Thousands of hours of development went into it. Thousands of hours! Look, mate, I invented the term asset flip. I know what it means, you asset flipper. Shut the fuck up. Did digital homicide sue Jim Sterling? Now, this is the interesting part. Robert says, actually, my brother sued Jim Sterling, not digital homicide or myself. This isn't to say I didn't agree with him. I did. I just wasn't listed in the lawsuit. Now, this is an interesting situation. Again, this has been described in my video on the topic, but Robert Romine apparently is going to pretend that that video was never published. So let's talk about that. Yes, on paper, James Romine sued me, not digital homicide, except, and the judge pointed this out, the grievances in the original lawsuit pertain to digital homicide. Now, they had 2 choices: continue with that lawsuit and get a lawyer, because a lawyer would have to represent their company, or redo the complaint so it's only about James Romine. And I feel like not bringing that up is, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, misrepresentation, the thing that the Romines claim happens to them all the time. Anyway, contrary to all of the articles and videos you'll see on the internet, the lawsuit wasn't about censoring criticism. It's very clearly stated in the lawsuit that the case was about defamation, and the defamation was false accusation of theft. Now this is what the Romines think is their smoking gun. It's not. In order to prove it was willful defamation, they'd have to, well, prove it was willful defamation, which it wasn't. I've admitted to this smoking gun they think they have, right? I made a mistake in an article I wrote about them. I can't even remember the full body of that article, but it was, it was about DigiHarm and all of their nonsense. And in the original version of the article, I suggested that they lifted a piece of artwork from DeviantArt and passed it off as their own. That's not what happened. They bought the image from Shutterstock and then used that as official artwork, because apparently they don't know anyone with artistic talent. Now, it's very well worth noting that their evidence of this is the edited version of the article, where in parentheses I mentioned I edited the article to take out some accidental misleading information. Misleading information that was in that article so briefly, they don't even have a fucking screenshot of it. I very, very, very fucking quickly admitted and corrected the mistake. All their screenshot shows is me trying to be as, journalistically responsible as possible. So to claim that's evidence of defamation of character, what's the word I'm looking for? How do I feel? I feel defamed. No, I really don't want this video to go on much longer than 10 minutes. I'd rather spend all day playing the Binding of Isaac. Digital homicide sue Steam users. They bring that up in their article. I'm not going to address that. That wasn't about me. Wasn't Jim Sterling the only reason anyone ever knew about digital homicide? That's an interesting one. The marketing plans I created made a large following for digital homicide. Sterling continuously covered us because it made his channel grow, not the other way around. The attention from Sterling just brought drama to our bought drama to our games and store pages, not sales. Easy example, Dungeons of blah, blah, blah. Basically, they're saying, oh, you didn't make us, we made you. Digital homicide, we made you. Not really. I didn't get any lasting fame off that. I've had a stable business for, I think it's like over 14 years now. I just pootle along as a D-lister. Always have, always
What's going on?
I'm more or less fine with that now. I've made my peace with the glass ceiling. Anyway, if you go back over the history, you'll see that they're the ones that kept kicking this up. They just couldn't let things go. And I do believe it's quite telling that they're here, Digital Homicide Uncensored, with their games on itch, and they brought me up. In not
just
one,
trying to
3 blog posts.
get my
Going after who again? Anyway,
Sarkin Juelo, whatever you call it.
It's 40
Chaos.
I've already addressed, So we'll move on to
Fuck
this
me.
other one, which is Juicy Plum. See, their latest. Why was Digital Homicide's lawsuit thrown out of court? They say it
Far as
wasn't.
this
I
is
mean, I guess
high.
it depends on your understanding
Well,
of
high
the
enough,
term
though.
thrown out. It was dismissed with prejudice. That's all I'll say on the matter. First, Digital Homicide didn't sue anyone. James Remain did by saying Digital Homicide. Yeah, they keep bringing this up. Anyway, second, the lawsuit wasn't thrown out. It was dismissed as part of a settlement. I'll detail this below. Be careful with that. Saying thrown out is used to support the false claim that the lawsuit was frivolous, which I've already written an article about, and it was not frivolous. Writing an article about it doesn't make
run
it
without
true,
bleeding.
especially when you've written it, Robert. No, the lawsuit was frivolous. Spurious bullshit. The lawsuit was jam-packed with utter guts. At best, it was frivolous. At worst, it was character assassination.
Listening to Jim Sterling.
Dismissal. Let's start at the first mention of the case contents. I
Apparently, Digital Homicide's back.
Sterling on the phone, which he later claims was me threatening him to silence his criticism. This is false. No, mate, no. This is true.
You'll never copyright me for
tell him what to do. All I wanted was
listening to this. He would actually, if he
would
would,
specifically targeting us and
what was it?
bombarding every single
Intentional.
game we released, game we posted to Greenlight or website update. I literally begged him to just be cool. My exact words, and was met with his normal arrogant contemptuousness. I told him I didn't want a legal fight, even though I already committed defamation, and that it would just be a waste of money for both of us. Unable to stand any more rude behaviour, I ended the phone call saying, "See you in court." I decided against it, and as usual, just wanted to focus on making gains. Right, here's the thing though. During that conversation, Robert Remain did threaten a lawsuit. This was fairly early on in the conversation, and after that, I think we had a very polite conversation. In my opinion, I've got a very nice tone,
Prison
actually.
Jameson
We were talking and potentially reaching an understanding. And then I told him that because he threatened to, bring a lawsuit to me, at the very least I would need to consult with my lawyer before we agreed to anything. At that point, Robert turned hostile and then said, "See you in court." For some reason, he's not brought that bit up. It's very fucking simple, folks. You threaten to sue me, I'm gonna talk to my fucking lawyer. Blah, 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 same old stuff that they bring up, blah, 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 defamation, oh, people are misrepresenting us. Now, the case itself took forever, stretched out by Sterling, taking a long time to obtain a lawyer. The lawyer asking for a 30-day extension, and the fact that defamation cases are on a lower tier of case priority, especially pro se. Right, I didn't drag your stupid lawsuit out. Unlike you, I have a brain in my head. So when I'm sued, I look for a lawyer. And I had to look for one in Arizona, didn't I, you fucking idiots? You fucking morons. I had to get a lawyer because I was being sued. That's not dragging a case out, that's being a responsible adult. I know to you, that's an alien fucking concept, but the rest of us in the adult world have to have adult solutions to things like frivolous lawsuits. Sterling's lawyer, seeing my brother's willingness to settle, then demanded James R. to cover his legal expenses and some other ridiculous stipulations made by Sterling. He threatened to do all the lovely things lawyers do, like scouring your financial records. He would have had to, since you all talked about money so much. Requiring psychological evaluation. He had to, you claimed severe emotional distress, and other things just to make you miserable. Those of you donating to Sterling's Patreon, I'm sure he appreciates your contributions directly or indirectly paying for this. What is this shit intimating that the Patreon money was misappropriated or something? That's my income. That's how I pay for things. You made me need to pay for a lawyer. If my patrons need to be upset at anybody, it would be you fucking clowns. He also threatened to add me to the lawsuit if my brother didn't comply. What he wasn't aware of was I was standing there during the threat, and all of a sudden he was now on the phone with the person he was threatening. Yeah, that's the thing. You two are so closely connected, you would have to be part of the lawsuit, Robert. You were my point of contact for Digital Homicide. I can't even remember if I'd ever spoken to James Romine, ever in my life. I may have done, but it pales in comparison to the amount of times you were calling me up. You were representing the company and your brother. You were threatening to sue me. There was no way that this would have went to court without you being involved, Robert. My lawyer merely pointed that out. Anyway, the rest of it is just a big pity party. Just, oh, we were so misrepresented. Oh, people thought we were tyrants. Oh. How the fuck did Robert manage to write any of these blog posts with his wrists nailed to the fucking cross? Anyway, I don't even think I covered all of the character assassination that's in these blog posts. I'm sure more is coming. But the very existence of these blogs points to Digital Homicide's long-running inability to let this go, while claiming I'm the one that can't let this go. Robert, you and your brother are a pair of fucking dicks. That's all there is to it. You're a pair of fucking dicks. Your lawsuit was ridiculous. Get yourselves fucking sorted out, okay? Sort your fucking lives out, mate.
Hello there, and welcome to AJS News. We got the week's gaming news all wrapped up for you, but first, we got a word from our sponsor.
Alright guys, our sponsors this week, of course, this episode is brought to you by Displate. If you don't know, we have the Mandalorian, or the Yodalorian design out there on the AJSA community page. It's freaking sweet. This is going to be a limited edition design. We are selling it once, and we are never selling it again. So if you want it, consider it. And tell you what, we'll do a 25% discount Displate is giving us. The code is down below. We're going to sell this until the end of February. So you have a little bit of time to save up the money if you want it. And trust me, yeah, these posters are a little more expensive because they're the metal ones. But we fucking love them. We have them all over my house. They last a long time. They don't ruin your wall. And this is, you know, in celebration, the Displate now has the official Star Wars license. So all of this stuff is officially licensed. It's good to go. Check it out. There's a lot of really cool designs. I got a bunch of them, so I'll be putting them on my walls and behind me so you guys can see them in videos. But they're doing a big Star Wars push, and of course we have our own Star Wars design. And so if you want that poster, get it now, because once it's gone, it's gone. Check it out, 25% off below. And thank you guys so much, Display, for sponsoring us. And you guys should check it out over. All right. Also, AJS News. So I'm wearing DBZ, as you can see, just because our new schedule has been very hectic and shifting and getting the membership going. We are still working on the DBZ review, so that should be coming out this week. I don't want to set a date on it, you know, to disappoint anybody, but we've been getting costumes in, we've been doing, you know, finishing up the game, and so expect it somewhere towards the end of the week. It might even shift into very early February, but I'm going to do my best to get that done. Hopefully you guys have been loving the increased content. We've been putting out a lot more videos and additional lists, and thank you to our supporting members for that. And speaking of our supporting members, we are doing our first Q&A ever. So that is scheduled for Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. We're going to try to stream on YouTube, first time ever. That way we can leverage all the subscribers and everybody can check it out. It's going to be public. It's not limited to just Patreon members, but if you're a Patreon member and you submit questions, which are part of the reward tier, we'll definitely answer them. And yeah, just consider it a hangout stream, and you know, we'll be debuting some footage, behind the scenes stuff, and also, yeah, and then we'll be delivering the rewards, because there's some reward tiers on Patreon, and letting you guys know when we're delivering them. Alright guys, a lot of news, a lot of shake-up, going independent here in 2020, do a little bit of housekeeping and getting all those things centered and finished. Go forward.
Why did it go over there?
And honestly, January's been kind of barren a little bit for games, except for kind of DBZ, so
this is perfect timing that we did it all now. Because if we did this in like March, it'd be fucking impossible. Because there's a lot of reviews and games coming up then. So stay tuned for that, guys. All right. And it does seem like February is a little more barren too. Like a little bit more. A little bit more is happening in February. March is when shit hits the fan. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And Alex, what do you got?
I don't know if you guys have played Red Dead Online on PC lately, but it's kind of turning into a shit show. And as a person who doesn't play, like I love the game, the multiplayer. There's so many people hacking and modding and cheating in the game. And again, it's really funny as someone who is not invested, but I can imagine if you're a player, you must be pissed when. And it's funny, like we've got ones, like people are turning on God mode, they can do that forever. But now people, once you log into a server, people are just draining your gold, and you can watch your gold just like count down. There's a mod where you can have it rain bears, and so the people are filling cities with bears or filling a lake with bears. You can do it to like farm.
That sounds fucking awesome.
You can do it to farm skins. Yeah, but the problem is if you're just
I'm actually now interested in it when previously I was
not interested. Well, the problem is that you rain the bears, and the bears are killing all the people in there. Cougars do the same thing. People were spawning vehicles. They could change the weather in your lobby, and so people are really upset. I mean, this happened a lot in Grand Theft Auto, and so it's the same system. It's exactly so it's real easy that if you figure out how to hack into that system, you figure out how to hack this one. So we poke fun at games when they have real slow-nasty hacks.
Yeah, getting kind of hectic over there at Red Dead Online. I avoid it mostly those multiplayer ones. I play for a little bit, but you know, here at the show we have to move on to the next game. And honestly, Rockstar and some of the monetization in the previous games and a little bit in this mode, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people are actually so upset. Is you can buy gold, like actual real money, buy gold, log into a server, and then it's just like, oop, it's gone. They're going to have to do something about it pretty quick. The number of videos are just funny. Again, it's funny when it's not happening to you.
I was about to say, it makes great content.
It makes great content. Hopefully we got all the real fun stuff, like raining bears up there. So poking fun at that. We also got some more good news. Like the rumor is that EA is working on Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh!
Wait for this.
Woo! Why didn't you tell me this? I would have brought my lightsaber.
Hopefully it's not a rumor.
Yeah, well, there's some things that kind of help us believe that the rumor's true. One, that the source of the rumors has been pretty accurate other times. And then remember, I think last year, I think Kathleen Kennedy said, like, look, we're working on something that's Republic related, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Yeah. So hopefully that's what
Might be the show she's talking about.
What I'm thinking
Show and a game, that would be great.
Got your remaster of one of the old games, and that's just going to be the old game.
I don't know. We'll probably remaster it first, though.
Here, and then an actual remake or a Knights of the Old Republic title, not necessarily redoing one or redoing two, but maybe, and then not necessarily three is what it sounds like. It's just that continues the two storylines, or either of the two storylines. I think it's going to be its own new thing set in that era. In fact, it might even be tied, and I think it is tied. There's something in development at EA regarding Project Luminous. Project Luminous is the next phase of Star Wars regarding the plan many months, maybe a year ago. Lucas Martin have a bunch of book authors, comic book people who are listed on this Project Luminous, who they'll start releasing content for. Now, what is it? Some people, it's just rumors right now. Most people think that it is what's called the High Republic era. And this is potentially where Star Wars is going to go next.
Yeah.
Instead of thousands of years ago, which is the Old Republic, it's going to be hundreds of years ago. And it will also take place within the Sith ruler too. Maybe dealing with Bane, or maybe dealing with after Bane. Now, me personally, I'm like, I would prefer you go far back. I prefer you go.
I want to go all the way back to like the formation of the Sith, like Star Wars, Birth of the Sith, or something like that. Star Wars, the Old Republic, or Star Wars, the Birth of the Sith.
So if it's High Republic, I'm going to be very, very skeptical. I'm going to be like, that's not what I wanted. Convince me. Convince me. So I am excited for, what we can get in the future from Star Wars games. EA obviously.
It's perfect time because of the Gray side mentioning in sequel trilogy.
Fallen Order.
It took them a long
It
enough.
took them a while, so hopefully they can continue that. And that's not necessarily EA. That's kind of Respawn, even though under EA. So hopefully EA continues to encourage this.
Yeah, hope so. The next bit of rumors that we got this week is we got alleged Xbox Series X photos showing the port. Okay. And so people were
sexy stuff. Huh?
Yeah, we got there's USB. There's a port for optical cables.
Enough.
So many.
I can use them all.
You can use. Well, no, there's one on this picture you can't even use. It won't be there when it ships to you.
Oh.
There's like a diagnostics port that won't be there. People
Yeah,
lost their mind.
That's a dev kit or something.
Yeah,
it's
an
early box.
Yeah, it's very early.
There's only one HDMI, and it's like, wait a minute, I love the Xbox a lot. One feature that many Xbox people like is the HDMI in and HDMI out. And that picture, I think, only has one.
Only has one HDMI, and so there are some rumors that is actually intentional though, because a lot of the HDMI out stuff was for all of like the TV integration stuff that really didn't take off for Xbox. So maybe they don't have it. But again, this is early. This is not the final release. It could come out exactly like this. But I don't
find it I would find it discouraging if they go back.
Yeah. People like their holes.
But I do like my holes. Ultimately, if they do, we'll have to see. So we'll have to wait for the real version, guys. This, not the real version.
It says right up there. It's like it's a placeholder. It's not even.
Continue waiting. I think Microsoft will be debuting, E3 probably, and Sony probably sometime before that. So we're not really potentially February, March.
Dying Light 2 was delayed. Another delay that we got. Now, all the reports are it's delayed indefinitely. It's never coming out. We just don't know when. Give it a couple months. We'll know. They actually said that we're initially aiming for spring 2020 release of Dying Light 2, but unfortunately we need more development time to fulfill our vision. So we'll be fine. I respect that. Our priority is to deliver an experience that lives up to our own high standards.
So yeah, at this point, because there's a running joke with the developers. You want to play another zombie game? And the two girls that was in the video, and they were excited. At this point, yes, I want to play. You've done sufficient teasing. You've done sufficient development cycles where it's like, I'm ready. But hey, you guys need some more time. I'm down with it.
I will allow it.
Right, but we're getting a lot of game delays lately, so
people are learning though.
We need to start putting our foot down where it's like, guys, please stop announcing your games coming out too soon.
There's a lot of things this last year we talked about that really scared video game development. Anthem came out half-baked, Fallout 76 the year before came out half-baked, and so Breakpoint was another one. People said that Breakpoint was something that really crushed Ubisoft, which is why they delayed everything so long. And so hopefully the next cycle over will be more realistic about what the release schedules. But everything was so bad this last year that I think that this is going to be the year where people are like, look, the consumers have had enough. Everything that Todd Howard says is bullshit, and it is not how the game ends up. It's a lot of how you
You were gonna say something, right? You were gonna say something like, what? Fuck that.
No. I was just gonna say, at some point we need to figure out when too many delays. That's actually an indication that the project's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think you're granted in the video game realm in 2020. I will grant you a maximum of 3 official delays. If you go past 3 official delays, then you're in trouble territory with me, and I'm going to turn from, yeah, man, take your time to, what's going on?
Yeah.
Come on, you're fucking it up. Don't fuck it up, kind of thing. So, there are some games that are well past, 3 official delays, and
Hey, they didn't tell you though.
Oh, they didn't tell me.
They didn't tell you
Yeah,
when
they
it's
did.
coming.
Yeah, they did. There's several times they said about.
Damn it.
About.
All right. They've got more fake space real estate to sell you
That
first.
was the Star Citizen. All right, moving on.
There's a report that Konami has 2 new Silent Hill games in development, which is actually kind of exciting.
No.
No, you don't want to play Silent Hill? I'm not Silent Hill.
Yeah.
You're depressing me, man. Of course I want to play Silent Hill, but I want to play Kojima's version. I want to fucking play PT. I don't want to fucking play a pachinko machine.
Well, it's still
Fucking
there.
Silent Hill.
all right.
The people left at fucking Konami. I don't trust them. You remember
Oh,
fucking
I was
Contra,
about to
Joe?
say,
Do you remember
Contra's
fucking
crap.
Metal
Survivor.
Gear?
Well, I may have some good news
Yeah.
for you then. So, the report says is they're reportedly reviving the Silent Hill series with not 1 but 2 installments. One game is thought to be a soft reboot, while the other one is rumored to be an episodic adventure similar to Until Dawn.
Episodic. Fuck!
So, now, while it may seem preposterous that Konami would work with Kojima again following their public falling out a few years back, anonymous sources I trust have anecdotally intimated to me that over the last year or 2, the ice has thawed between them. So this person seems to think that there's a chance that Kojima would come back. Kojima did.
What?
Busy with Kojima Productions and Sony. Why
Yeah.
would Sony be
Isn't
like,
he gonna
hey,
make,
look,
like,
we went
other
out,
stuff
we
too?"
got you. Why are you going back to that your battered husband?
Yeah.
He treated you poorly, and now you want to go back?
Well,
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
I want it to happen. So I'm hoping that it does, but
Yeah. Hold on. I got a shipment. It's our new camera.
Careful now.
they just throw it everywhere.
It's a new camera you just dropped in.
I did drop it. Yeah. So a new camera. We got the OJ and Alex misadventures gonna be going on Twitch, and some potential Let's Plays and impressions videos of some smaller indie games and things that fall through the cracks. So we got that, and so that's why we're kind of a few delays here. The Angry Joe Show has to grab new equipment and reorganize. But as I was saying, it's going to be the team. They need to start to announce who's a part of the project and try to put people's fears at rest, because normally the default mode or for gamers are fuck Konami. And they need to be aware of that, and they need to sort of put the fears at rest.
I don't like the episodic thing.
Yeah, I'm not a big
No.
fan. I
I'm not a
lose
fan of
interest
that.
extremely quickly when you tell me.
Yeah, I was
it's
like, oh,
episodic.
it's excited, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be. An
Only
episodic
one of
thing.
them. There's 2. So one may be good. I don't.
It's just
I don't want to
just
stick up
don't
for
like
them.
it.
But
fucking
they,
I just
lazy.
don't
It's like
like
I'm gonna give you a little bit, and I'm gonna work on another one, give you another later. No, just give it to me when
They're
it's
gonna make
ready.
you pay for it.
every season.
Yeah.
Cut it out. I don't like it.
All right, we got some interesting allegations with Riot. So, 2 U.S. government agencies attempt to discredit Riot Games and plaintiff's legal counsel bid support for their competition. So, we talked about a couple weeks ago, there was a sexual harassment suit against Riot Games. They did a bunch of horrible things, and we don't have to bring all that back up. And then they paid out $10 million. Now, these 2 government groups, the Department of Fair Employment and what is the other one? And another one that we'll get to, are claiming that Riot used that colluded with the legal counsel of the defendants, used something they call a reverse auction, which they defined as, they say, these are all the defendants, we're going to pick the one that has the worst legal counsel, and you represent all of them. And there was some collusion between they are claiming that there was collusion between the 2, that really that $10 million amount should be something more like $400 million based on the number of employees that were affected by it. I mean, we talked about it. They were humping employees. They were farting on them. They were grabbing their crotches, purposely not promoting women. So this is an interesting update to that suit. Riot, of course, says it's preposterous and there's no way that any of this can happen. But both agencies immediately going after them. Is interesting. So once we get more information, we will.
That's impossible.
Impossible. It sounds like that they allegedly took their lawyers and had their lawyers fart on the shittiest lawyers, allegedly. And then they smelled the farts together and say, you want to get some money instead of no money? And then the ones farted on said,
it's a win for
I'll
you
take
guys.
some money. And then maybe they allegedly
Well, that's
farted.
fucked up. If it's true.
If it's true, but
Allegedly.
we did talk about it a little bit when the
Obviously,
report
right.
came out. When it
Yeah.
was like 10 million seems like a really
It did-
small amount for like
it did seem
thousands
like
of
a small
employees.
amount, but we don't know the exact details
Yeah,
of
we
the case. Was it a single fart? I mean, how much is one fart worth?
That was a
I'll
very
take 10
costly
million for
fart.
one fart, but
But
this
that's
is
10 million
across
divided
Divided by-
hundreds of
Right.
employees, and then there
did
was the
somebody grab, the boobie or the titty or
Crotch.
because there was crotches, right?
You don't feel safe
How
at
much
work.
is a
That's
crotch
just-
grab? I don't know, 30 mil. What's your price, sir, on the crotch grab?
Do I get to hold it to you? Like, just be like, all right, well, I do remember
I don't
there
know,
was like,
but what
all
we
right.
did say was rather low, especially when you divide it
Yeah.
amongst all the
Yeah.
employees. So I guess that's why some of those groups got suspicious and
Oh,
they're,
yeah, very suspicious.
try to get litigate some more in order to try to get some more money. And from the big company's perspective, it's like they just want more money because they know we make a bunch of money and they're blowing it out of proportion. I haven't read through the details of the case, but it does seem a little suspicious.
Yes. The next news story we got this week is id Software announced that they were crunching pretty hard most of the last year to get Doom Eternal out. It's not to anybody's surprise, right? So the game was delayed. There were some things to fix, and so they worked their employees pretty hard. They said that they claim that now what they've had is the best game they've ever made. And while they were crunching pretty hard, it goes in phases. We'll have one group of people crunching while another person's off to try to be as humane about it as possible. So hopefully the employees aren't too upset about it. But this just seems to be the new norm in the video game industry. Where
It's not the new norm. I don't know why people don't know this. Crunch time has always been the norm in video games. And honestly, it's kind of the norm in a lot of workplace environments. As you get close to a deadline, people who fucking sit on their ass or realize, oh shit, Bob's been sitting on his ass. I gotta fucking do Bob's work, goddammit, and then I'm doing pulling in two, and then Bob's sitting there with his thumb up his ass. So it happens in a lot of places, and so as long as companies are doing something about it and implementing policies and incentives
Rotating
and rotations and doing something, then I'm okay with that. Whereas previously companies weren't doing that, and they were like, this is just it, this is just a part of it, get fucking used to it. You want to get fired? Even though I know I can't fire you right now, but I'll fire you once you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that often happens anyway. So you work your fucking ass off, especially in a video game job, and then your whole team's going to get laid off anyway because EA said, I wanted this game to make 7 million, not 5 million, or 7 billion, not 5 billion. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, you're fired. Wait.
we need to have record profits every quarter forever.
Yeah. Which is exactly what happened. That's why it made our top controversies list. Their profits went up year over year for EA, 10%. Let's cut 350 employees. Activision, record profits, multiple billions of dollars. Let's cut 800 employees.
But then they rehired for most of those positions, like all those communities.
That's the crazy part, and that's the sickest part. Alex is right. We read stories and confirmed they were hiring for some of the Q&A positions that they got rid of, and I thought
Cheaper cost?
that's what it was.
Yeah.
There's probably
entry-level people
because they have done a good fucking job and earned more money, and then
They're like, all right, let's make more
bring
money.
in some
and
fucking
cut these people.
punk ass,
You get started
kids who don't know.
$7.50 an hour.
You're 12 years old? Yeah, fine. Come on in. So as long as we can pay them $4 an hour.
And in Jeffrey dollars.
Right.
We'll pay you in GameStop store credit.
Yeah. We'll replace them with younger
Can we do
people
that?
who.
I want that.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's-
And if this continues, the video games industry really does need to consider how to treat their employees better, or the employees need to
Just try to
unionize or
decrease
something.
some burnout or something.
Yeah.
Because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's bigger than movies.
Yep.
Bigger than a lot of damn industries. And as we go forward into the new decade, I just want people treated with respect.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other announcements that we got from Marty Stratton, which is the Doom Eternal co-director, said that ray tracing will not be available when the game launches. So even though that there was a delay, they tried to implement that technology, and they kind of mentioned that it was going to come out with that. There just wasn't time, and so
That's okay.
I'm fine with it. I know some people that are really in. They're like, look, I really want this in the game, and that's all.
It's gonna be so fast paced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not one of the things I was looking for.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we got 3 possible Nintendo lawsuits.
I don't mind. I haven't used
Get
it
ready.
before. I
Big one
don't
is Nintendo
care if I
just
ever
won their
do.
lawsuit in Germany.
For a
They
while.
can continue to prevent cancellation of pre-orders in Germany. So if this is something that exists everywhere for Nintendo. Nintendo has the same refund policy all over the world. Once you have paid for a game and you can pre-download the game, not play it, but just pre-download it, you can no longer get your money back. Now, this is different the way that Sony does it, the way that Microsoft does it. And so Norway and Germany both went after them and said, like, look, this violates the rules, the consumer protection rules.
Right.
But they lost.
If I pre-order a game, I should have the right to cancel the pre-order before the game comes out. Nintendo says, no, you shouldn't. You're technically downloading some files. You're preloading some files. Yes, but when I cancel my pre-order, it's not as if I still get it. You cut off my access to those pre-downloaded files, so we should be good, right? No. We need your money.
Well, you waived your rights. Remember, in order to do it, you have to click the box and say, "I waive my rights for the refund." So they've already.
Maybe Nintendo should change the way they do it and go more in line with the other companies. But no, they're going to fight in the courts and they're going to say, "Fuck you guys. You cannot cancel your pre-orders. Once you pre-order, you pre-order." We need the legal. Now, I don't think that they actually implement it in real terms as much as that. Though they want the right to be able to implement it, and I'm sure in certain cases when it gets excessive or something, then they pull out that card. Yeah, that's where they got sued, and they won.
And
meaning you cannot cancel your pre-order.
And they got their legal fees covered by the plaintiffs.
Oh shit!
So Nintendo, however, counters it because they're good lawyers.
Shut the fuck up.
So they're claiming that because you can preload the game.
What'd you say? God damn, Nintendo!
So that once you preload the game, the contract's fulfilled and you waive your rights, so there's nothing to do that. And we like to note that Nintendo is the only console maker that doesn't let customers cancel digital pre-orders.
Yeah. Don't pre-order games from Nintendo.
You just straight up don't do it.
Fuck
that.
that. Fuck them. Don't pre-order games from Nintendo. If you want to pre-order games from other companies, don't have that draconian policy, and that don't bitch slap people who pre-order and say, man, I can't afford that. I need food this month, and my addiction to gaming got me in trouble. Well, fuck, shut up.
Well, we saw a couple of the companies soften the refund policy. Like Sony was refunding money for games that just didn't work. With WWE 2K.
I've seen. To be fair, I've seen Nintendo refund games, and I'm not saying that they don't refund games. I'm just saying that in legalese they want the right to be able to shut the fuck up. Whenever we tell you to shut the fuck up, we'll tell you to shut the fuck up. Now if you play nice and you make me feel good, there's your money. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. So don't pre-order games from Nintendo. Tell Nintendo to shut the fuck up.
All right, next lawsuit. So a court here in Texas, in Dallas, overturned a $10.1 million verdict against Nintendo. So a group called iLife claimed that Nintendo had violated 6 of its patents, including one that had been filed to protect its own motion tracking technology, sued them for a bunch of money. The lower court said, you're absolutely right, Nintendo stole that from you, we're giving you $10.1 million. Nintendo immediately appealed, and the higher court said, actually, Nintendo, you get to keep your money. That doesn't have, you cannot, they had a patent on motion tracking being used to track motion. And the court's like, no, that's way too big. You can't just say like, I motion track, it's online. I know everything.
So Nintendo's like, wait, you own motion tracking?
Yes.
Seriously? I mean, we were working on motion tracking for quite a while, and now some assholes in Texas say we have that. Now, I don't know the details of the case there, but it looks like Nintendo won again and said, shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up, yes. Nintendo had been
Don't fuck with Nintendo.
Don't fuck with Nintendo.
Which found that iLife was impermissibly trying to cover the broad concept of using motion sensors to detect motion. I don't know what else you would use motion sensors for, but...
yeah, but I don't know. I would tend to side with Nintendo Nintendo on this one. If I look up the details on this one, it looks like that those guys are being a little too vague in general.
They
and
definitely
saying
were.
you took
We
it from
detect
us. We're like,
motion, that's
we
it.
ain't never
Done.
even heard of you guys before.
Yeah, but they didn't know the most powerful lesson is you don't fuck with Nintendo because they're
Shut
gonna
the
win.
fuck up.
The third possible one is only a possible one. I only want to cover it because you cannot go into a Twitch chat or YouTube comments of anything Temtem related without at least 10 people saying, "Aren't you gonna get
Pokemon."
sued? This is just Pokemon." And so, wanted to kind of bring light to the situation that the creators of Temtem, they knew this. They knew this going in there years and years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so even when the Crema Games,
It looks like Pokemon. Give
Yeah.
it what the fuck.
yeah, it looks exactly
We're
like
gonna
it.
sue you.
So even
is
when the
what
Kickstarter
Nintendo-
was launched, like there was even news outlets saying like, "Oh, you're gonna get sued!" Like immediately. I think it was Kotaku had someone wrote up something like, "This is just Pokemon. They're gonna sue you." And they, in their FAQ, they clearly say we're not using any patents or copyright from Nintendo. Switch already has several games very inspired from other Nintendo games, so like Brawl Out, War Groove, and Oceanhorn, which all look kind of like Super Smash Brothers. And so apparently they've done the research and they've got themselves covered. So in case you were wondering, it doesn't look like Crema Games is going to get sued by Nintendo for Temtem, but if they do,
Good.
If they do, they're
Well,
fucked.
they're
no,
fucked
because
because
they're
Nintendo
messing with
always wins.
Nintendo.
Okay, no. I'm going back on the side of anti-Nintendo in this case. So I just read some more of the text. This guy didn't even fucking work for Nintendo. He's just saying that, all this and that when they violated 6 patents and what. No.
Oh, that guy? The guy who sued them for the motion sensors?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was full of shit.
No, he's full of fucking shit. I didn't look it up. And then this other guy. Now this one, it's like yes, there are sort of pocket monsters
Inspirations.
and inspired by Pokemon. But guess what, Nintendo? You cannot fucking copyright ideas. You can't copyright fucking genres of
Yes,
games.
you can if you're Nintendo.
If you're Nintendo.
No, fuck
You're
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
But you waived your right.
Joe,
they made
you
you sign
shut the fuck up and put the
I
Joy-Con
don't-
on its
I
side.
don't wanna
Get out
fuck
of
with
here.
Nintendo.
Go put
No.
your Joy-Con on its side, Joe. No, we can't. We have to be like, look,
That is,
here's
yeah, it's
where
fucked up.
Nintendo can sue Temtem or Tam or
Temtem.
whatever. Temtem. Dell's playing it right now, and for rapid fire review. Now, if it's got a Pikachu in it, then yeah, sue their asses. If it's got, Pika Blue and it is a blue Pikachu, then maybe sue their asses. But if they're creating all fucking new characters,
Which they are.
with
They are.
some new mechanics and done in a completely different way, but just inspired by, then Nintendo, shut the fuck up.
I would like Nintendo to know that I do not share his views.
Don't be scared of
I've-
these
I've-
motherfuckers.
fuck,
We've
I
gone
don't
toe
wanna
to
sue
toe
by
with Nintendo.
Yeah, fuck them.
We've
I
won.
didn't say who them is.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Fuck them.
The
By them,
angry-
I mean whoever Nintendo is.
Don't let these generals, lose faith, because I got your back, Angry Army, and we have gone to war with Nintendo before. We don't need Joe and other Joes groveling because we want to, in our angry review, the Zelda, Breath of the Wild, because
That
the
was
Angry
horrible.
Army was tweeting at Nintendo and was emailing people, they removed their copyright
Wow.
on that when it was originally copyright claimed. And that was 100% fair use. That was parody. That was satire. That was for review purposes. And we won. It is possible to win because Nintendo does listen when they are doing something wrong. At least Nintendo America does. Employees at Nintendo Japan. Now, I wouldn't talk to Nintendo legal, okay? That's literally their job to be assholes. And so that's what we're talking about
devils.
here. And they have to be assholes too, because you got those guys from Texas coming over like, we own all motion.
All motion.
Shut
No,
the fuck
no, you
up.
don't.
We control the motion.
But Nintendo's incentivized to be aggressive to protect the Pokemon IP. And I know it's kind of sick, but this is the way lawyers work in the lawyer world is, even though they know that it's not really, right to do, they'll do it anyway so that they can set a precedence for them protecting their IP, which is one of the requirements when it actually is a real thing. And they can say, well, look, we have been aggressively protecting our IP, and courts like that, and lawyers like that. And so That's why you have something like this. But Nintendo's in the wrong. They need to pull their heads out of their ass and leave Temtem alone.
Well, Nintendo hasn't done anything to go after them yet.
Okay. I thought you said. I thought so. We were talking about lawsuits. That's why.
Yeah, I was just saying that the one, like, if you go, you go to Dell's stream right now, where he's streaming Temtem, everyone who comes in there is like, why doesn't Nintendo sue them for this? I'm just explaining that as well, because they've covered their asses. They know that they're not using things that are copyrighted by Nintendo. It's inspired by.
It sucks, and you can call it
It's
shitty.
a
You can call it
homage.
Pokemon ripoff.
That is what it is.
Yeah, you
Homage.
can call it Pokemon ripoff, but you know, if that was the case, no one would be able to make board games, no one would be able to make games. You wouldn't be able to fucking make.
You couldn't do anything.
Would suck.
All right. Well, last bit is something good news. Netflix is developing a standalone Witcher anime, and so it was really, really successful.
Y'all seen Castlevania on there?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Even my girlfriend who doesn't watch anime, she watches. It's technically anime, but it is in that style.
Yeah,
so
so
I want to see more of that animated stuff, which is perfect.
The Nightmare of the Wolf is what's going to be called, to be led by Witcher showrunner Lauren Hirschrich, animated by Legend of Korra and Voltron Studio. So,
Laura, please fix the Nilfgaardian armor in this animated series. Do not, I swear to God, if you guys fucking draw ballsack armor with penis heads again in the animated series, I am going to be really fucking mad at you, okay? The angry army will mobilize against Ballsackian armor, all right? This is not, Men in Black, the Balchinians, all right? So we got to make sure that armor is badass, and it's great because in animation you could do a lot more of the monster stuff. You could do a lot more of the sign stuff, and sort of the mystical element and the magical element in the Witcher universe, and I would love it. Now here's my requirements. Laura, please listen. Are you listening? This the showrunner for Witcher is also doing this. Get the I know you. It would be cool to have it voiced by Henry, but say if Henry's too expensive or his schedule's busy with something else, consider the original voice actor from Geralt from the video games. That's how you get audience retention. That's how you make fans happy. That's how
No!
And also, I will formally request Mark Hamill for Vestina in season 2. She's already got a bunch of those requests, but I want a second Mark Hamill for the next
Can't see why I'd want to do that.
All right.
That's
Cool.
it? Anything else you guys want to cover?
All right. I'm excited. I think we're on the cusp of big announcements in February regarding Star Wars and regarding Sony, so I'm looking forward to that. And all right, guys. Thank y'all guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Maybe consider grabbing yourself one of these posters while they're still available. That one's going to be available till the end of February. The code is only going to be available for a few days, 25% off. So check it out. Grab them now while they're hot. And yeah, thank you so much. And we will see you on the next Angry Joe Show.
Bye, guys.
The outlier in a way, because in that case, to go back to what I said, Kennedy said, the sort of fate of the nation wasn't at stake. The fate of democracy, the meaning of, the separation of powers, all of those issues were not at stake in a perjury trial about.
As we start out a new decade, I thought it would be cool to take a look and have a discussion about Guild Wars 2's biggest problems, as I see them, of the modern era of the MMO. And maybe while we're at it, suggest some fixes at the same time. So I've got a list here that I've given some good thought. Now, this is not every single problem with the game. MMOs and Guild Wars 2 in particular are massive, with a huge number of different divergent areas that can have any number of problems with them. I just want to look at the big picture, the product in general. There's nothing really short-term here or nebulous either, like communication is one of the problems, or patch frequency. I'm not interested in that stuff that can change month by month, but rather the broad things that could possibly be holding the game back. Maybe you'll find you agree with a few of them. So thing number 1 on my list, and this is in by no means an order of severity, though I believe this one to be probably the single most prominent thing, is what I'm calling non-meaningful character progression. To the layman, we could maybe refer to this as simply the topic of rewards. So what I mean by this is that a lot of people who play Guild Wars 2 get into it, find that they are very soon lost and have nothing meaningful to continue working on to build their character up and give them that thirst, that sense of direction for what to do next in the game. So as soon as that happens, they might try an alt or two, but they're liable to leaving. So this is a multi-pronged issue as far as Guild Wars 2 is concerned, and one big fundamental part of it is by design, so I would give the devs a free pass about this, and that is the idea of statistical progression. Most MMOs solve this problem, most RPGs in general even, by simply putting you into a rat race. You beat the game and you have a certain amount of strength, you can do optional side stuff at the end and get stronger. Then you wait for some kind of update, which will make you stronger still, some kind of big expansion later, which will make you stronger, and the content continues getting more and more difficult, requiring that you go through all of these hoops. And as silly and weird as that sounds, it gives people a very real sense of purpose and direction. It's enjoyable, I would say, for the average gamer. It's a loop and a cycle that if you end up playing a lot of these kinds of games, you can get really sick and tired of, and that's where Guild Wars 2 deliberately comes in and says, here's a game where you can enjoy yourself in an RPG, but we won't do that to you. We're not going to keep creeping the stats. We have one little area of the game that's fractals that has this sense of gear progression, but mostly you'll do it once, maybe twice, and then it's just a matter of money. And for the rest of the game, you're never really going to feel like you're getting weaker. We'll give you new options, but we won't supersede previous ones. Hell, some of the Berserker gear that you built in 2013 is still exactly useful for a massive number of builds here in the next decade. That's Guild Wars 2, and it's by design. A lot of people bought into that, so it would be a bit foolish for me to ask the game to change in this way. But it is a fundamental reason why most people then have non-meaningful character progression. Because if that's the main thing they're looking for in games, they need to get it somewhere else. And so where's the somewhere else in Guild Wars 2? Well, back during the Guild Wars 1 days, and certainly the early Guild Wars 2 days, cosmetics was the answer. And this was effectual for Guild Wars 1 through its entire life, I would say, and for Guild Wars 2 for a good long while. But nowadays, cosmetics have started to fail. In fact, I would say over the past few years, cosmetics have been failing. Why is this? Well, a lot of the more long-term invested fans of the game have the legendary weapons, the legendary armor, the legendary trinkets, the infusions, the auras, the special skins that they already want. There are only so many gear slots you can equip onto a character before you find something you're really proud of, and you're just not that excited to have another alternate set. Sure, with the new build templates and equipment loadout, specifically update of 2019, it does feel like there's more wiggle room with the Fashion Wars. Maybe you already have lots of legendaries, but now you want even more to fill out a different template. But it becomes an increasing minority of players. People just aren't into this stuff. We've seen with the most recent saga, the devs pushing their echelon even further, having one of the cosmetic rewards you get for beating the New Living World patches being emotes. But we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Just how do the developers motivate you to get new skins when the ones you already have are super badass and well made? Well, try to make them bigger, try to make them shinier. And we've seen a lot of skins go in this direction over the recent few years, completely debasing the initial aesthetic that the game had. Compromises like this have to be made, though, in order to keep getting sales in the gem store and actually making sure people do achievements and do get those rewards that are being implemented.
It's a problem with cosmetics. You have to keep making
chairs be added as a new option. We've had
better and
basically all
better.
of that novelties UI. We've had the idea of mail carriers or gliders. After 8 years, there's really not much room yet. And the truth is that most people don't have statistical meaningful progression, and most people
Why would you need it though?
Cosmetics anymore, as far as I see.
It just makes
there are a few other systems in the
next expansion will just make all the gear irrelevant, like in WoW.
Elite specializations were initially implemented
So were you thinking of getting
to be a progress to build up
on whether I should get Shadowlands or not? Because I know that
That's
The
not
expansion
really
after that will make all the
mastery
gear
system
you
is
earn
another feature that is
irrelevant.
supposed to give you meaningful character progression, but is really only worth a couple of hours of gameplay with a new release at most, where people get way too much experience and finish these things off straight away. Even if you don't have the recent masteries finished,
Son
the
of a
devs are
bitch.
often baking into the design of masteries such that they're cooperative. It doesn't matter that you don't have the mastery, the 20 other people around you do have it, so it doesn't matter that you didn't get it. It's just not a meaningful system. And finally, I would say, Guild Wars 2 is a game that really lacks the idea of being able to reset your progression. In many other games, there might be a new league, a new season arrives, there may be really tangible, exciting
No, I don't
reasons
want that.
to create alt characters. In Guild Wars 2, you get very little playtime out of this stuff, or the
I'd
features
rather
aren't
just
there at
have
all.
everything
I
permanent.
myself have loads of characters, and they're all well geared, ready to do whatever task I want them to do. But does that mean I had lots of meaningful hours of playing the game and adventures for each of them? No.
Why
They're
are
all
you
done pretty
having
much
many
in
characters
moments,
though? I
and
have
the amount of
9. That's
content
what I
I'm
need.
getting from the game bottoms
All
out
maxed out.
fast. The last gasp
New
resort,
builds
as
come
far
around,
as
I
see,
try those
from
out.
the devs to try and add some meaningful progression for players is that of achievement points, which, sure, when you get invested in them, can be pretty fun, but most players feel like they'll never be able to get a lot of the achievement points they missed and just aren't into the system in the first place. Truly, if you become invested in collections and achievements and those things you do consider to be fun content, the value you get from Guild Wars 2 is insane, but so few do. So that's problem number 1 as far as I see it with Guild Wars 2, the non-meaningful character progression. And if I were looking to resolve this as we go forward, I'd be looking seriously at the mastery system and player motivation for actually making alts. There are a ton of big, grandiose ideas you could have, of course, but I'll keep it
Like
simple.
some sort of gold bonus
The
for
second of
every
Guild Wars
character
2's
you make.
biggest problems I want to identify is that of unengaging gameplay in the living world for those most enthusiastic of fans. There is a simple fact about this product, and I'm sure it happens with many MMOs, but Guild Wars 2 I'm sure suffers much more with its complex build system and particular flavour of action combat that has been so applauded over the years. And that is this: there is a massive difference between a new player, a casual player, and an enthusiastic player that really focuses on their gameplay and learns about the game and the build that they're using. The devs themselves acknowledge that there was somewhere in the region of 10 times more damage output being done by invested players compared to most anyone else. There is a wild difference, not just because of gear and the difference between someone being well geared and poorly geared, but in understanding and application of how the game works to tackle its challenges across the player
that's
base.
good.
What this means for ArenaNet, who are trying to make content everyone can feasibly do and not frustrate the average gamer, is that they have to cater, or have been at least for many years now, to the lowest common denominator when making
All games have to do that. They have to get
Most of
casual
what
players
ArenaNet
in
focus on
to make
is
more
Living
hardcore
World,
players.
and most of Living World, a huge proportion of it, is designed to
Wildstar
be
really
beaten
failed on
by
that.
even the poorest of players. What does that mean for the invested players and those who are really looking for something to tack onto? Well, Living World is extremely boring. And ArenaNet are in a very dangerous position, and have been for a long time, where many of their most enthusiastic and dedicated of fans don't enjoy Living World. In fact, they sneer at it, and they begrudge it, and the efforts that ArenaNet have put into it over time, despite the fact it's probably the most profitable and highly played section of the game. At this point in 2020, you'd be very hard pressed to find a champion of the Living World somewhere on a discussion forum, or on a YouTube video like mine. Without that small but crucial top-end endorsement of an entire game type, very little enthusiasm will trickle down and encourage new people to come to the game and enthusiastically play the Living World. Because why would you? All the people you look up to really don't care for it. And so Guild Wars 2 enters this kind of toxic, scary place where the main ambition of the developers is being glossed over or actively hated on, and the main thrust of the MMO is being debased. If I were to attempt to fix this issue, and I really do think, as with everything on this list, that it's a crucial one, I would want ArenaNet to find a way to bridge the gap between the more enthusiastic players and the more relaxed ones. I would find a way for the developers to have more confidence in the capabilities of their audience so that the experiences they're offering are more balanced for everyone to enjoy and are more uniform while they're at it. Currently, ArenaNet tries to solve the issue by, instead of providing much standard combat, they do more dialogue stuff, or they try to give you mini games and new skill bars and specific things, but that's all crazy amounts of development effort that needn't be there. When it's appropriately balanced, Guild Wars 2's combat is good. They don't need to do much more than throwing enemies in hallways and having bosses with fairly simple mechanics, as long as it's well balanced. All that other time could be spent on making these patches longer or better in other ways. Unifying the player base's skill would certainly be a challenge. After 8 years, many people have different conceptions about what the game is or how they should tackle it. And sadly, for most of them, they were trained by the core Tyria experience that auto-attacking, never really dodging, and just interacting with items every now and then is enough. ArenaNet need to train people away from that, and maybe, for new people coming in as well, look at core Tyria itself. Beyond just trying to get the player base onto a more even footing with one another, filtering tutorials around the game can only do so much after all. I also believe in the implementation, however rudimentary, of some kind of difficulty slider. Call what Living World currently is story mode. And maybe you shouldn't get any titles or big rewards from story mode. If you want to get the rest of the stuff, let's have some enemies that don't die in 2 hits. Let's have some enemies that will actually have the potential to take us down, and call that something of a harder difficulty mode. It doesn't need to be many, there just needs to be something encouraging for the random casual players to look at that harder mode and maybe engage in it every now and then. I am actively disappointed whenever a new Living World patch comes out lately, trying to play it cooperatively, because as a co-op group of reasonably decent players, we annihilate all of the interactions in the game so fast, I'm not having any fun. That needs to change. The next crucial issue with Guild Wars 2 I would also levy at the Living World, and that is on the topic of replayability. Now, I have less to say here, but let's set the stakes. Guild Wars 2's main updates, the most significant regular ones, are Living World. They're coming at a rate of about once every 2 months right now, and they have a reputation of being a thing you can beat in a matter of a few hours, a single day, or completely 100% them in 3 or 4 days. For some of these episodes, that is totally true, and ArenaNet need to pay much, much more care about how much playtime they're getting from people when they release a Living World patch. They need to be more conservative with those optional achievements for the people who are really going to try and complete everything. I personally do not believe it is healthy for ArenaNet to signal to their user base that they only need to play the MMO for 1 week every 2 months. That is not enough to sustain people's entertainment and call Guild Wars 2 their home or their main active game. People will defect away. I do believe that the core main story stuff should be able to be reasonably well completed in a day or so without any annoying arbitrary grindy gates. But if they're putting decent rewards in, and that could be achievements, that could be skins, that could be any number of things which they do actually put the development effort in for, it should be a real task for players to get them. I shouldn't 100% a patch in just a couple of days. And no, this isn't coming from a player who's hyper efficient and zergs around everywhere. Believe me, people could do them even faster. Even I, who tries to get as much value as possible, find this stuff runs out too quick, and it's because ArenaNet are too lenient and too fearful of community retribution, because God forbid someone has to play the game for a little while. Beyond just this, I believe Living World has, for the past few years, had a serious problem where new releases are invalidating the importance of previous ones. Rather than every new update expanding Tyria and making it feel like it's an increasingly large and exciting world to be in, it feels instead like mostly there's just an active player base that's getting shunted forward to the next thing and no one ever really looks back. That could be resolved with some serious efforts to add things to previous maps after they were already out. This new saga is returning to the idea of expanding on maps, which I'm very happy with. But why is it that in episode 1 or 2, we haven't really seen much go on back in the Grothmar War Downs? Why am I so confident we'll never see another change for Season 3 map or a Season 4 map? These places will just wither away in our memory, and it makes the game very difficult to recommend for new people, because what am I going to do? Tell you to play through a bunch of stuff if I'm fairly certain there aren't many people around? Sure, the game can be done in a largely solo environment, but the game could be doing much more. I'd love to see the devs look back at some earlier content, at least every now and then, and give people more meaningful reasons to explore it. Not just some big reward or mount at the end of the season, like we saw with the Sky Scale or the Legendary at the end of Season 3. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that ArenaNet do put a lot of stuff in with the living world, but the way that everything is being packaged in this MMO makes populations run through the stuff like water through a sieve, and not really invest as much as they could or should be, and any other well-crafted online experience probably would be doing so. The next issue I want to talk about is the handling and treatment of the gem store. So I think at this point it's pretty clear nobody likes microtransactions, but most of us accept that that's become the industry standard, and they're here in Guild Wars 2 also. I would also be a fierce defender of ArenaNet's gem store in that it has not, over all these years, become truly pay to win or pushed its boundaries too poorly. But the gem store these days has a very bad reputation. This is mostly because for every playable patch we get, there tend to be several gem store releases with all kinds of new skins that often end up looking better than the ones we can earn in-game. A lot of people begrudge that, and I don't blame them whatsoever. I think it's very easy for me to sit here and say, well, to fix this problem, all they need to do is have all those gem store releases be in-game. But clearly, the money has spoken, the market has spoken, people are using the gem store, and it is profitable for ArenaNet to operate this way. So instead of lecturing on that or trying to magic up more resources and more assets that they can put into the game to compete with the gem store, I'll say this instead. If the gem store has to be this way, and the rewards are destined to be better and so much prettier quite often than the things we work hard for through the conventional releases, ArenaNet should really try to remind people that the gem store does not mean real world money, and much of what is available there can be acquired through in-game currency. I personally, for all these years, have been much more lenient of the gem store because I'm well aware of that fact. Quite often when I see a gem store update, I just feel like that's a thing totally accessible that I can get without busting out a credit card. That is because you can buy gems with gold. But most players have either forgotten this or are willfully ignorant of the fact. If when the gem store releases came out, they saw in plain English, hey, this is worth this amount of gold and not necessarily just a gem price, I think they'd be much more tolerant in general. I think the reason that ArenaNet don't make this too obvious is that, of course, it would probably lead to some loss of real-world revenue in the store, and that's something they're not going to want to mess with. But I cannot overstate the amount of goodwill that would come towards this game and people deliberately choosing to support this game if basic facts like this were more evident to the player base. Some of you will argue that the gem store isn't bad because it's real-world money, because you can get it in-game anyway, but because a lot of the gem store skins are cool and we don't get real content from them. But I don't really find that to be a compelling argument by 2020 either. We've seen over the years, ArenaNet had multiple forays into releasing items on the store that rather than just immediately getting access to, you had to do some kind of small adventure. You had to wander around dealing with the Skrit in Skritsburg to finally get the reward, or you had to mess with Black Lion agents. Sometimes the feature itself that you're buying is content, like with the mini Basenji or the Sky Scale that we saw in some of the recent patches. What about the gardening update? It seems though if ArenaNet do that and they tie content to the gem store, things go even worse for them. People don't like the idea that content has a paywall in front of it, whether it's real world money or whether it's in-game money. And that stuff just isn't sold that much better that we see them doing a lot of it. So I'm not sure that's the real story. The real story is people have to play a lot of the game to earn a lot of the gold to get through this paywall, or they can bypass it with their money. That's the whole story. It shouldn't be that it's because the gem store is this evil thing ruining all your fun in the game. But for many people, it is. And no matter how healthy this thing is compared to other MMOs, people don't like recommending this one because of it. The second to last major issue I want to highlight in this video is the lack of meaningful cooperative-minded features in the game. Now, this is a rather broad topic, but obviously, having co-op gameplay in an MMO is extremely important. Having communities within the game and tangible, real reasons for interacting with other people is paramount to the success of a game like this. So how does Guild Wars 2 do? Open world is admittedly full of players. Even here in 2020, you can walk back to random Quarteria maps, even those Season 3 and Season 4 maps I mentioned earlier, and find plenty of players around. It won't take long. And I'm sure ArenaNet is very proud of this and feels like they've done enough on the MMO front. But I couldn't disagree more, because the interactions you have in these scenarios are entirely empty and shallow, with nothing deeper there than maybe acknowledging a person exists. There is no talking, eventual friend making, and then from that, traveling to new areas of the game you didn't know about, but the other person did. So, where are those moments in Guild Wars 2? Well, there are numerous features that should offer it, but let's go through them. Guilds. You'd think, since it's in the title of the franchise, the devs would have a little bit more get up and go about this area of the game, but they really don't. For the majority of the MMO's life,
guild ranks are guild levels
ago,
are
they introduced a lot of beautiful infrastructure to guilds.
completely
They added the idea of the guild missions with all of its various types, the treks, the puzzles, the bounties, the challenges, but none of that has been expanded on for what, half a decade? Yes, there are some guild updates, like the new hall that was added with Path of Fire or the decorations, but none of that really gets people playing together. As I mentioned in point 1, this game has a real problem with reward incentive, so people don't go for the guild currencies, and they're certainly not interested in doing the same thing over and over and over again for 5 years straight. So where has that content been? ArenaNet just won't do it, so why would I bring you into my guild? Well, there's not much reason to, really. Then you have the so-called difficult endgame features. Now, the poor tutorialization and the catering to the lowest common denominator difficulty I mentioned earlier in this video caused there never to be much of a thirst for challenge or an understanding of the combat in your average person. So whenever the devs have done a feature that is cooperative and challenge, like dungeons or fractals as we have, like raiding, well, they never had a very high population very quickly. And on seeing this low population, the devs never ran with it. You may actually call that a smart move, I certainly would. Maybe if they went long enough and hard enough, eventually those areas of the games would become very populated. But at the outset, it was too much work for too little gain. And now, where are we in 2020? Well, fractal updates do come, but are increasingly rare. Raiding updates do come, but are increasingly rare, with people throwing doubt as to when these next things will ever even come out. The result of this? Even less meaningful co-op stuff, even less reasons to have a community, and while the casual user base never really moved to those areas, the top end of the user base is now actively moving out of those areas because they aren't getting the updates regularly enough. Living World seems like an obvious place to add some meaningful cooperative gameplay, but again here, the devs really don't. Not in the story journal. They seem to think that the Zergy, very basic open world stuff is all that the MMO needs. And again, I disagree. As I mentioned earlier in the Living World section, if you do play story journal stuff co-op, it actually makes the game worse, because you have even less to look at and less to see before stuff suddenly dies. The devs don't even try to make this stuff scale. Some patches certainly do have variant story things, and supposedly episode 2 of Icebrood Saga will go further with that, but for many years now, I've not been impressed. Lastly are the other two branches of the game. World vs. World and PvP, the competitive areas. Since not becoming smash successes right at launch, perhaps due to them not being ready, these have always had fairly marginal populations, but just like with those other aforementioned scenes, these two haven't had the priority focus Living World has, and they too, in general, are draining out. Some of the only other places to get really good co-op gameplay. World vs. World in particular has its own issue, where it's diminishing since the players announced the Alliance feature, and it's been multiple years it hasn't come, so people are waiting on that, and now the game type's in the back of their minds. But we'll see where that goes. I suppose the newest saga has attempted to rectify the issue somewhat with strike missions, something of a bridge feature from standard Living World stuff into these other areas, these cooperative features. But I'm afraid strike missions are just too unintelligently synced into the rest of the release, and many casual players don't even know that they're there, let alone that they could go for them and get rewards. The result? There's not much co-op going in Guild Wars 2. If I were ArenaNet and looking at what they are prioritizing on, the number one thing I would start on is getting meaningful co-op into the core Living World releases, perhaps tie it into my aforementioned higher difficulty mode for story journal content, and then go from there. But this is an area of the game that needs a lot of work. The final major issue that I see with Guild Wars 2 of today is really not even a problem with the game itself, but rather the extra information around the game that has affected how people interpret it and whether they want to get invested. And that is what I would call a fear for the game's direction. Last year we had a slew of bad news from the studio, hearing about layoffs and the fact that the studio was not actually profitable in the way that it was running. As bad as that news was, the real disaster as far as Guild Wars 2 was concerned, in my opinion, was the revelation that ArenaNet had been working on other games. And those other games, they had nothing to show for and didn't have anything to get people excited about or to justify their experience. So since that time, a lot of people feel like Guild Wars 2 isn't ArenaNet's main ambition or priority, so why invest in the MMO? And while you may be able to swallow that pill with any other studio announcing to you a new game, in this situation, people find it very hard as they don't have some kind of cool trailer to get them hyped, they don't have some new interviews or ideas from the studio to really rally behind. It's just empty, awkward silence and a sulking elephant in the room that maybe ArenaNet doesn't care as much about Guild Wars 2 as you thought they did. I think anyone who really looks at the game industry and really takes the time to think for themselves could have always expected ArenaNet to be working on other stuff, and maybe even have acknowledged that somewhere along the line it had gone wrong since 2012. But the scale of these layoffs and the silence that's followed them, I think has really rocked the boat about this game's future. Without a proper announcement from the studio that people can really believe in, that Guild Wars 2 is getting as much as humanly possible, I think the player base will be unsatisfied even if ArenaNet are making the correct decision long term to try and get something else going. This information, compounded with the fact that there is not an expansion for Guild Wars 2 and no concrete word on when there will next be an expansion, simply that the devs still believe it might be possible, people are beginning to look at Guild Wars 2 as a has-been experience. They shouldn't. There are active MMOs, even to this day, that launched way before Guild Wars 2 that are very successful. Any number of contemporary MMOs in the West have been able to turn themselves around several years in and reach new heights that they never had before. Guild Wars 2 is still full of all of that potential, but these layoffs and this murky water to do with the expansion and the new Icebrood saga not necessarily feeling like an expansion replacement as the devs so clearly want it to be, has left a very dark cloud over many people's heads indeed. Let's just hope that whatever these other projects ArenaNet has are really good and they'll have something for us soon. Either that or at least an expansion for Guild Wars 2. That would be nice. Thanks. So there you go, guys. That's my current thoughts about the game's biggest issues, like the serious talking points. There are a lot of other little things that we could go into, but as far as what the game is, what it's trying to do, that's really where I sit after having followed it for 8 years. I want to be clear, these aren't necessarily new revelations to me. My opinion hasn't suddenly soured overnight and now I felt like I wanted to rant about it. I just wanted to do a discussion and kind of lay the...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Logical Optimism. We are finally underway, and it's been a little bit since the last episode. There hasn't been too much to talk about, and we haven't both been playing PoE as much. So, and you know, Exoton New Zealand, but we're back now. Newbie, good to see you.
Good to see you.
How you been? How's the audio quality actually?
I mean, you sound okay.
You sound great.
Nice.
What have you been up to lately?
I've been up to, or down to, under New Zealand. Yes. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to the Promised Land, where all the hobbits live. Great. Exoton. You were there.
I know, I was there. It was great. No, honestly, Exoton was amazing, but that's, we probably won't be able to talk too much about that because we have a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Why are you making me more quiet? It's the first thing he was on. Okay, you know what? I'm not thinking anymore. There. I'll just be louder as well. There, okay. Now it should be perfect. And we are going to talk about 3.9. We're going to talk about the patch notes. We're going to talk about potential build starters and the Awakener kill event.
Oh, we're going to talk about that as well. Oh.
Are you excited for it? If you say no, I will disown you on the spot. I will end call.
I don't know what to feel about it right now because I'm not ready.
You're not ready?
No. I barely played Blight. I haven't really
you and everyone else
bossing in quite a while.
So you're not optimistic?
I am, and I'm like, it's like I know I can do well, but I'm not sure if I believe that.
That's fair. I get that.
Kind of deal.
Yeah.
I know. Are you optimistic? Are you winning? Are you?
I just hope to see like a shit ton of people die, dude. I want to see like this.
Yes.
I want it to go on for honestly. Like I think it would be like kind of sketchy for method me because like casting something that long would be bad. I would love for it to go for 2 weeks, dude.
Yes.
Damn. But yeah, that would be expensive for method. But hey. But anyway, yeah, we're paying for casting and stuff, and like there's a tool we're using to keep the channel 24/7. So it is actually
it goes on forever.
surprisingly expensive. But yeah, no. Let's first talk about 3.9 Metamorph League. I personally very excited because a boss league. That sounds amazing.
I am pretty excited too about Metamorph. I think I'm excited because it's not trying to be the whole league. And so what it does, it's probably going to be fun when you do it without you having to rely entirely on it being the only fun thing to do. I'm happy about that. I think that's going to be really good.
Are you worried about the rewards?
I mean, I'm not a fan of the current reward structure they have. With all the side content dropping from them. So I mean, I've been pretty vocal about that over the last few leagues. But other than that, I think seems fine.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
You saw the video, right? It's just like a big loot explosion once you kill it.
Yeah, like the thing is, I feel like the loot is very like rehashed from every league. Like like they just
no, it's the same. It feels the same every league.
I don't really have a great suggestion either. To be fair, just like fixing a bit, I guess. But yeah, no. I'm always worried about rewards. I feel like bossing in Path of Exile has like been a little lackluster on loot for a long time, and now they're they're buffing bosses and boss health, and I'm like, I hope they didn't say anything about rewards. So I'm like,
Right. So, a lot of people talked about that, and I thought about it a lot, and I think it's important to kind of. So on the one hand, I think it's important that we bring up like the difficulty again throughout the content as a whole. It's kind of silly that bosses are dying in within seconds and they're not really posing a challenge. Though, so I think that's that in itself is important. But I think regardless of whether or not they're difficult or easy,
Alright, well, I'm gonna take
they
a
aren't
break.
giving the appropriate amount of loot. So I would like to see maps giving
Gym,
slightly less loot, and
do
then
all
you
that.
funnel that to the boss.